What is up?
What is up, dude? It's good to see you, bro.
What's up, man?
Let me introduce you, Danny Mercado. We got the other half of the People's Podcast on
Yes.
my podcast today. And thank you, dude. Thanks again for coming
I
on.
can't get away from the Ryans because between Ryan Gilman and Ryan G.
The Ryans,
just,
dude.
Yep. I've been double teamed here by the Ryans.
I gotta fill everybody in because we actually already did a podcast episode together, which was a super great, super awesome, rad podcast. But I had so many technical difficulties through that last episode, and I cut something together, and we were going back and forth, and I was like, man, can we just get together and do it again? Because so much time had passed since that, and I don't know, I just kind of wanted to do it justice instead of trying to edit around all the technical issues that we had.
Yeah, exactly.
The biggest thing, and to you, if you guys go to do a video aspect of the podcast and remote, do not use Riverside FM. I'm sorry. I'm throwing them under the bus. Horrible, dude. So Riverside FM's like the podcast host that I use.
Yeah.
You know the issues that we were having just getting you set up the first time. And so what happens is, I guess the app uses the user, the guest's memory storage, and then records off of that, right? So we have our issues, and it's not the first time that it's happened. So I get a hold of somebody, and I'm like, yo, I'm having these issues. And they're like, oh, well, then the guests that you had, they probably didn't have any memory storage left on their device. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm supposed to have, book a guest and then be like, hey, man, what's your memory storage looking like on that device?
Right. And for me, I had an issue because at first I didn't have Chrome. So I went to use my other half's iPad. And I guess she has limited memory on it from whatever, because it's an old iPad. So it worked for, I guess, maybe half of the interview.
Yeah.
And the other half was just nothing.
Well, so what happens too is, as it's recording, it's not actually recording. Like it says recording on the screen now, but it's actually not recording. It's not until I stop recording that it then starts to pull the data from your device.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay.
We were like, oh, dude, that was a cool pod. And then we hopped off, and then it was like, oh, I didn't get any of that video. And then I'm going through the whole thing with the IT dude, and he's like, well, did you get the audio? I'm like, yeah, dude, I got the audio. I record it separately. And he's like, okay, well, you got the audio. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like video podcast. Like, you get, what is that shit, dude? No. I pay.
Might as well phone a friend to call in on you.
Bro, I pay for a fucking service, dude. You know what I mean? Fuck.
Exactly.
Anyways, that rant out of the way. And everybody don't use Riverside FM. Don't support them. I'm going to keep using them.
Noted.
I paid a year of their service, so I've got 4 or so months left on the deal. But
yeah, so you've been doing this for about a year now, huh?
Almost, man. I think it will be a year in February.
Right on.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think February is the first episode I did with Greg Zorn. Yeah. Man.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Good dude.
Feels forever ago. Speaking of, dude, I'm going through and I'm trying to book people for my podcast. And we've both been super busy, just trying to get back together. And I had a lot of fun talking to you last time. So I've been super stoked to get you back on for the redo. But I follow, the People's Car podcast and what you guys are doing. And I'm like, man, everyone I want as a guest, you guys are already snatching up or have already interviewed. I'm like, fuck.
I mean, I guess that's a compliment. That's
it
good.
is, dude. Yeah, no, it's sick. I actually just was listening to the last podcast you guys did at Mark II Mayday with Toby.
Yeah. Toby's a good dude.
Dude, he's such a rad dude. He's someone I hopefully will get on this podcast, but I'm actually nervous to talk to that guy. He's such a legendary dude. I was like, fuck,
yeah,
man.
Exactly.
I'd be super nervous.
I think we were both pretty nervous about that interview just because of his legendary status and VW Fiends and everything he did. And Ryan didn't even talk to me about the amount of influence that he had on him to start the podcast. And that was just a a great compliment to Toby, because he's been in the scene for a very long time, and he's done everything the right way.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy that you want people to look up to, when they're getting into this, when they have a question. Look what he's done. Look what his builds have been over the years. Look how he has carried himself.
Yeah. No, he's like as OG, like triple OG. He's like as OG as it gets. Just all around, dude. Like his builds, like you said, he's super technical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy's, like I said, the guy's like just a straight up legend. And hopefully I'll hit him up and maybe he'll want to come talk to me on my little podcast. But
yeah, that'd be awesome. Good dude to get on. Absolutely.
Dude, so last time I had you on was like a couple of weeks before Low Show.
Yeah.
And so it's been, oh shit, that was like already a month ago. Low Show was already like a month ago.
Legit a month ago. Yeah,
Dude.
It's crazy how time just flies because we've been trying to get together and our schedules haven't coincided, and I got busy and you were busy, so just life happens.
Yeah, dude, and I've actually had like I haven't podcasted in like probably like a month, actually since the last time we did it.
Right.
And I've had that bug, you know what I mean? But like just been so busy, and everyone that I'm trying to like schedule with, we're all like doing craziness. So hopefully it starts to slow down a little bit, and I get a little more consistent, I guess, with my podcasting. But dude, all right, so Low Show, that looked like the most epic Volkswagen Audi event I have ever seen in my life. Almost surreal, dude. As I'm going through Instagram and I'm looking at everyone's show coverage, I'm looking at the pictures, I'm like, is this even fucking real? This is like a dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How was
Being
that,
there
dude?
for it was unbelievable. Like the experience, like talking out of the box thinking, putting something together inside of a pretty much defunct mall, and having it come together the way it did. Because when people walked in there, at first you're like, how the fuck is this going to work? Because you've got like these old stores with all these random colors and everything and schemes. And you're like, I don't know if ours was a Lane Bryant or whatever the heck it was. It was just like, all these random stores. And then once you start putting the cars in and putting everything together and putting up these stores, it was wild. Like for me, it was the equivalent of like last minute shopping the week before Christmas, and everybody's out to get that gift, because once the doors opened, dude, it was a sea of people. You had lines out the doors of like BFI and going to Rotiform store or checking out our Volkswagen store, even the PVW cars next door, or the Harlequin store. It was just nuts. It was crazy. It really was.
That is literally like a dream show. For those of us who couldn't make it or live on the wrong side of the fucking country, it just seemed like insane. Like obviously I followed everything from like Jamie when he first mentioned it, and everything was starting to come together, but I guess it really didn't hit me that hard until I actually saw like the pop-up stores and the coverage and the pictures after the fact. Speaking of, you guys were in the Volkswagen store.
Yes.
And for everything I've seen, and I hope I don't get any haters here, like all the stores look dope, but Johnny's fucking store looked like the most amazing that I've seen, like in the entire event. Like his store was like stuffed full of merch. He had you guys in there. Like, no, his store, because I like look, and I haven't seen, like, I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, right? But like there was other, like retail vendors or whatever you want to call pop-up stores, but it didn't seem like they had like a ton of merch or like a ton of, stuff like that. But Johnny's store, like this fool had racks. It looked like a clothing store, dude. It literally looked like a clothing store.
Legit. And some of that stuff was there, so we were able to utilize some of the racks. And then some stuff he brought in. Like, he did an amazing job putting it together, because he had this idea of this laid-back, chill, pre-2K store. Because if you didn't notice, the cars that were in there were all pre-2K cars.
Yeah.
So it was a throwback to, what we really do like and appreciate, mostly, I guess, because most of us that were in that store tend to gravitate towards the older model cars. And he had the store. He had a dozen cars in there. He had
all the cars.
Arcade games. games.
all the cars were hammers too. Obviously, he had his
Yes.
Drummond, he had his Mark I, but he had Forrest's truck right up front.
Yeah,
Dude, that's like such an
that was
epic.
wild.
Oh my god! And he had you
It
guys in
was
the
crazy.
you guys up there podcasting like that. I would have hung out there like the whole time. Like if I was
Pretty
there,
much what
I would have
everybody
kicked it in there the entire
Legit,
fucking time.
everyone would come to our store and just chill because we had couches in the corner. We had the arcade games. We were doing the interview with Forrest's truck right next to us. It was just wild. Like it was epic. It really was. It was just surreal. And it really came together very well. And the mall in general, you could tell the different vibes and different genres and walking around because you had like Out of America there with the their supercars and they had Volkswagen America there, and you had like, all these different vendors that are some FCP Euro was there, and there was just a lot of big names that were there for it, and it was just an all-around unbelievable event. Like I don't even know how they say a show because it's more like an event than anything. I mean, it was just wild.
It's like the most epic thing that I've seen. Like it goes so many notches further above what a typical car show. Like out in the field, that's cool. In a warehouse, that's cool. A fucking mall, bro? No, we're in a fucking mall, bro. We got stores, food courts.
Dude, there were still some stores that were open. You had like the flagship stores, like Dick's Sporting Goods was still there, and like there was a Kohl's there.
Could you imagine?
And so the mall wasn't completely empty, so you still had like regular shoppers walking through this mall. Like, what the
all right,
is going on?
I was gonna ask a couple things you may or may not know, but first, can you imagine just being the random fucking dude who needs like a new baseball glove? Like rolling to Dick's, he's like, I gotta get a new baseball glove, and he walks in, it's fucking full blown Volkswagen Audi car, like show cars everywhere. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it was mind blown. Just
did you get
it was crazy because there's a lot of stipulations to have that even like go down because with the fire marshals, each car had to have only a quarter tank of gas. You couldn't have them running; you had to push them. So we were like pushing cars across a mall, and there's like some inclines here and there. So it wasn't like necessarily easy to get that thing together. And then like once it was over, to get everything back out, we're pushing cars back out of there.
That was a lot. Crazy. That was a lot of the coolest event coverage, social media coverage, however you want to say it, that I saw was like everyone pushing the cars out after the show. It was just super cool to see like two dudes pushing a fucking slammed Corrado through the fucking hallway of a mall.
Yeah, right.
Did you get a chance to like talk to Jamie or anything at all about like anything that day? That dude was probably freaking.
Yeah, that day in general, everyone was just going crazy and running around. He approached us. He actually talked to me, I want to say back in May. It was at, I want to say, Dubs at the lake. And he said he's putting together something. Can't tell us what it is, but it's going to be pretty epic. And we knew about like the Harlequin show, because we all just kind of thought that's what it was going to be. And then, as the months went down and time progressed, I think it was the middle of July that we found out that this is what's going to be. And then we kind of got on board with it with John, being that he was one of the big supporter sponsors for it. And this kind of piggybacked off of him. And you had Eurocraft in our store, Volkswagen, People's Car Podcast. We had No Pause Gear there. Shout out to JP because like he was great also with helping it there. Everybody, it was all hands on deck. Dude. All hands on deck to get everything together. It was a lot of work that if it wasn't for the people that were there, it wouldn't have never happened the way it did.
It's crazy. And to think like, because when Jamie, he was probably working on it behind the scenes, putting everything together. But when he actually officially announced it, I think it was only like a month or a month and a half out from the actual show dates.
Yeah, it wasn't a typical show times. You've got probably 3 to 6 months when a show is going on. It was a relatively short time frame for when the actual show went on. So yeah, man, it was crazy how fast it came together.
That's insane, dude. Just to think what he was able to do, like without knowing all the stuff he had to do on the back end that we didn't see, but from the official release until the day of the show, and then to see the quality of cars that were there, the quality of the pop-up stores, like that's pretty fucking phenomenal, dude.
Absolutely, it really was. And shout out to Addie and Ashley. They were a big part of getting a lot of the stuff together behind the scenes, whether it be permitting or talking to the council or to the township or the fire marshal, police, all that kind of stuff. So they had a big part in having this be the success that it was. So shout out to them. And everyone else involved for putting together an epic show. And hopefully it still can go on next year, but who knows? Because that is like a defunct mall that it could not even be there next year. You know, we don't know what's going to happen with that kind of venue because it was almost like a one-off thing. So if it's not there, I mean, I know there's other avenues, you can kind of go down. And I know they've talked about possibilities of other things down the road, but that was just an epic event.
Jamie's with Volkswagen now, dude. He's got deep pockets.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume. He's just going to convince Volkswagen America to buy the property so he can have the show every year.
we should have shut down Chattanooga and just go down there and just have a show inside the factory.
I wouldn't doubt it, dude.
Yeah, right.
I don't see how. And you know what's funny is because I was talking to Corey Sterling.
Yeah.
And we were even talking to our podcast, but like while this was going on, he was like, I'm telling Jamie to slow down because he's like, it's like you got to have something to like get better over the next year. And Corey called it early. He was like, the way Jamie's envisioning this and how everything's coming together, like it's going to be untoppable. It's going to be like one of those untoppable events. And fuck, dude, just looking at the coverage, like I said, from where I'm sitting, I was like, this is like something I should have made a point to get to. You know what I mean? Like hindsight, it's like, fuck, I should have been there.
For us, because at first we were on the fence about it. We were like, I don't know if we're just going to go and spectate or if we're going to do the podcast. And then John was like, listen, guys, you got to come do this podcast here. With you guys being there, it's going to tie it all together, and it's going to be something special. And you don't realize how special something is until you're going through it, and you're just kind of looking around, and you're like, man, what is happening? What is going on right now? Because this is just surreal. It was nuts.
Dude, so you guys are podcasting. You guys just do your usual where you're just like kind of grabbing people like, yo, our booth's over here. Let's go crank out a quick little podcast. How's that working out?
Pretty much. Like we saw some people there. We had some ideas of who we wanted to get on it, and it just worked out. Especially on people that we wanted to get Forrest on for a while. So it worked out that he was in our store with his truck right next to the podcast. And then it worked out that we were able to get Charged on to get from, her and her husband. He came up from Georgia. So like they were up, coming from the South for this show because I think they realized how special it really was going to be.
Yeah.
So shout out to them for, being able to sit down with us. When we approached them, they're like, yeah, we're all about it. So that was a great interview that we were able to put together.
I have to go back and listen to that. I actually hit Heather up on Instagram because a lot of the low show coverage, like the great pictures I was seeing, besides like Tony's pictures he was posting, Heather, she threw up like a ton of great pictures, and I was like, yo, you want to come on and talk about low show and all this other stuff? And she'll come. I think she's gonna come on. We'll talk about her projects and stuff, but timing didn't really work out. It was one of those other things, but hopefully I'll be able to get to talk to her. But
talking to Heather and Errol about the show and about the story with the Harlequin, it was just amazing because you've heard some good stories out there, and this was another one just to add to the list of these Harlequin bills that have been saved from like junkyard cars.
I think 2021's the year of the Harlequin. Like,
yes,
they've always been like cult. Like in our scene, they've always been like a cult car, right? Where they've had this cult following. But I feel like Harlequins and Harlequins have like blown up this year. Like
it really has. There was a point before that, you would see these cars and it kind of make fun of. It'd be like, oh, who the hell would drive around that kind of thing, or whatever the case is.
I always thought they were cool, but I never was like, oh my god, it's a Harlequin. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's cool. I've done a lot more research after the fact, so I appreciate them a little more, but I'm still not like crazy like, oh, Harlequin, you know what I mean? But it seems like Harlequins and Harlequins have just blown up this year, and
Yeah,
Low
and
show
it's
coverage.
good, especially because of how limited they are. It's good that they're being saved, and more that are being found,
Yeah.
say like in a junkyard state, are being saved and put back on the road. Because I mean, other than that, it'll just be crushed cars, you know.
Yeah,
And
isn't
that's it.
speaking of, isn't Jamie, he's got a whole Harlequin project right now he's doing for SEMA, right?
I believe so. Yes.
So, dude, that's sick.
Yeah, that's gonna be some. You know, going to a store like SEMA and seeing a car like that. For one, people probably have no idea what the hell it is, and then two, to find out it's an actual production car, it probably blows their mind.
Yeah, dude. Low show, fucking insane, dude. And again, like your guys' booth, the whole pop-up store, Johnny, like that whole store, like was super impressive, dude. It was my favorite
Yeah,
from what I've seen.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So, show's over. You got to push all the cars out. How many oil stains were left everywhere? It's like 10, 12.
You know, I think in our store, if anything, it probably blended in well into the maroon carpet that we had in there, and you know, it was pretty good. So I personally didn't see any, but I'm sure there was plenty. Maybe more in the Harlequin store down there.
Pushing the cars out. Oops.
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
sure there was some cleanup to be had.
that was sick. All right. So, because you guys have been so active in the car show circuit this year, low show, and then after that was Mark II Mayday,
Yeah,
right? So
that was awesome.
you guys are also at Mark II Mayday podcasting.
Yep.
What's your feedback from that show? It looked sick.
The venue for the event for the show is a great location because it's a state park. It's family friendly, so you can bring your family, you can bring your dogs, you can hang out. You can go on the beach that they have there. You can bring your kids and have them play on the playground. I brought my wife and my 2-year-old, and they were able to go down, hang out, go on the playground, walk around, look at the cars. So it's a very laid back event. It's a very chill vibe there, really cool. I think that because traditionally it's in May and not in September, it kind of threw some stuff off a little bit for people maybe. But no matter what, regardless, it was a good turnout. And moving forward, it'll probably most likely be back in May of next year. So it'll be something to look forward to again because there's a lot of stuff going on in September.
Dude.
It was like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, week after another. So we didn't have a break at all, which is great though.
No,
I'm not
it was.
complaining.
I felt that. Well, I not only did I have a bunch of personal stuff going on, but I felt that just trying to schedule people on the podcast. It's
Yeah,
like, yo,
sure.
because I talked to Gates too, and I was like, hey, you want to come on and talk about Mark II Mayday? And then we were trying to get something together, and he's like, dude, I'm just so slammed. Let's do something after. And then he's like, man, now I got Euro Summit, so let's do something. It's just like so much shit going on in September, dude. September
Right.
was gnarly, dude.
It really was. For us, we hit up the low show at Mark II May Day, and then we went to the Junk Styles Junk Food Meet that was in Harrisburg, PA. That was put on by Becker Junk Styles, and that was a cool event. That was a little bit of everything. But he purposely had a Mark I hill. It was that when he first pulled in, all the Mark I's parked in one location, which was really cool. Yeah, nice laid back vibe, and hit up some food trucks. So that was a fun experience. First time I've ever gone to that.
That was dope. So did he pull in like all the food trucks for the event specifically?
Yep. Yeah,
That's such a
exactly
good
what
idea.
it was.
That's like how I envision, like if I put on a car show and I'm not Jamie Orr and I can't shut down a mall for a weekend.
Yeah.
Something like that would be dope. Like you get an area, you get some food trucks set up, you know what I mean? Like kind of chill vibe. So I followed that loosely. It looked cool. But Mark II Mayday looked like it had a really good turnout.
There was a good turnout there. You had, 3 G60, what's it called?
Golf rallies?
Rallies in an order that I had a picture of that was red, white, and blue. And it was really cool to see those in an order like that at the show. And some one-off stuff. You had the Zonker Mark II there. That is just unbelievable. The story behind that car and seeing the car in person and the state it's in. I mean, if you're a Mark II fan, that's where it's at. And I'm a big fan of yellow, so seeing that there at the show. Again, Heather Arrow came up with their Mark II. She brought her green Mark II up that had to win
her
the
Mark II
swap.
is so sick, dude. That's
Dude,
such
seeing
a
it in
sick car.
person, like the pictures don't do it justice. When you see a car in person, you're like, oh
Yeah.
wow, this is nice. It's just blown away. There were some really nice cars. Toby, obviously, with his car. I have a big respect for people that still keep like the 16 valves in the Mark IIs when they, when it was a 16 valve GLI or GTI. So to see his car in such a stock form with just some light mods done, I really appreciate that.
Euro Summit. How is that? That was the one I probably followed least because I was just like,
Okay.
I mean, like you said, there's like so much shit going on in September. That was the
Right.
most recent. Wasn't that just last weekend?
That was just last weekend.
Yeah.
And that again, that is like, I guess for us, it's like the new show and go, because the fall show and go show was the last one that we would all pretty much go to, and it's the end of the season. So Euro Summit is like slowly becoming that end of the season show for us. And there's still a couple little things that go on afterwards. But it was a really cool show, really laid back vibe. Traditionally, it's on Main Street inside in the town of Tannersville, but because of regulations in the state of New York, they're not allowing it to happen. So it happens on the lake that's right in town, Rip Van Winkle Lake, and it's a great setting, a great backdrop for the cars, for the show. A fun time. We didn't actually bring the podcast for that one. We just actually hung out and put up a booth and sell some parts as a parts vendor. So
Nice.
and so shirts and stuff too, because like we kind of miss doing that because we used to do that all the time back in the day for the show and go shows.
Yeah.
But we didn't bring like a whole boatload of parts. I just brought some little stuff, and Ryan brought some small stuff as well, with the exception of a set of wheels that he sold like within 10 minutes of being there.
Nice.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun just to kick back and hang out and talk to a lot of friends and see some new people that come up to us and just appreciate the podcast and that we meet for the first time.
Dude, that's rad, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
a lot of fun.
September was crazy.
It was, and up there it's just a beautiful venue because for us the leaves are already changing.
Yep.
We're getting into the fall season, and up there they're almost at their peak color.
Yeah.
So for us, where we're at in PA, we still got about 2 weeks before our peak color. So they're about 2 weeks ahead of us, just because they're about 2 hours north of where we're at.
I'm in Central Oregon, and we're in full-blown fall right now.
Oh, nice.
Like bright yellow, bright red. I got my fall flannel on.
I'm still wearing a t-shirt because like I have the garage open right now, and it's unseasonably warm.
Dude,
there's a wagon chilling out there, but
ooh, I like those booties.
Oh yeah, I just got them on. Luckily, made that happen. Had some bumps in the road on that, but we can talk about that later.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, dude, the temperature changes here have been weird, dude. Like today, where I'm at, it was a little cooler, but it's been like 20 degrees warmer than it typically is for this time of year.
Oh,
but
wow.
Today was like a little cooler. I think it was like high 60s, low 70s, but it's going to be like 30 degrees tonight. So like the temperature changes are like fucking crazy. But I got my fall flannel on, so I'm like, yeah, dude, let's do this fall shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude, fall's the best time, especially for cruising, hanging out, getting together with friends, it's a fun time.
Dude, I just can't believe. I was talking to a buddy about this because we're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I just can't believe just in September, the shows and the quality of shows that you were able to get to in just September probably eclipses my last 5 years of car shows.
That's crazy. It's nuts how many shows are really put together in the Northeast area. And you're taking out, we didn't have Waterfest this year. There was no H2O. It hasn't been H2O in years. So there's a couple of big shows. Yeah, it was. Dude, I hate so much that anyone even calls it H2O because it's not H2O. If you talk to the people that go down there, they're like, yeah, because it's next to the ocean. That's why they call it H2O. It's like, no, you dumb fuck. You have no idea why it's called H2O whatsoever. But I'll leave that rant for another time.
It's just all fucking Subi dudes with vape pens nowadays, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they said that the people that went down, said there was some cars and it was pretty laid back and chill because there wasn't the riffraff and there wasn't a lot of cars,
Yeah.
as there has been. So they said it was kind of almost like it used to be, but without the Volkswagens, if that makes any sense, because that's how it was before. It was a laid back event that you would go to. Like you could do some dumb stuff and the cops wouldn't bother you too much within reason. And they were supportive of it. The community was supportive of it. The law enforcement, everyone was supportive of it. The businesses loved it because it was off season when we went, and they got an extra week for business. So I don't know. I just feel like I don't know why it was never sanctioned or ever done at the convention center there in Ocean City, so that it could be a sanctioned event that the town got behind. I'm not sure because they have Bike Week there. They've got the muscle car cruising shows. They've got an import show. They've got a bunch of stuff that goes on, Corvettes, and it's all done at the convention center. So I just feel like maybe years ago something was missed. Maybe the mark was missed on it, but who knows? I mean, I don't know anything behind the scenes kind of stuff down there, but
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, it kind of turned into a shit show from what I saw through social media and stuff, dude. Got pretty bad. I think
it was sad. It was unfortunate because we loved going to it.
I mean, they were like running stuff on the local news there, like, fucking, prepping for like craziness. I mean, it's good that none of the craziness happened this year.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was just mad. It was nuts. Like seeing all the craziness that happened over the past, say, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, last year was like I think the worst year out of all of it.
Yeah, dude.
Just utter disrespect for people and property.
It's a bummer because being a West Coast guy, that was like one of the shows that I always look at. Like, oh, I need to get out there to make this, but there's other stuff now, dude. I'd rather make it to Mark II Mayday or Low Show if it happens again, or any of this stuff that's going Bag Fair, dude. I need to make it to Corey's show. Like, so much. You guys have so much good stuff. So the second weekend in September, it might have been the third, I made it to the first Volkswagen Audi event I've been to in 2 years, Pacific Waterland up here.
Oh yeah, saw that.
Oregon.
Yep.
It was a great show. Volkswagen was there. I had Joey Maristal on the podcast, and he runs Double J Motorsports. They're the ones who throw on the car show. So I talked to him about it. Got to the show. I mean, it was awesome. They had drag racing. They had like a whole swap meet area. They had all the show car classes. Then they had like the non-judge section, and then it was super dope. I hit up Carrie Maristal, who's Joey's wife, and I was like, hey man, can I get a booth spot? And I wasn't gonna podcast. Some people were asking me to, because there's a lot of people there that like in the local scene that I actually do want to have on a podcast episode eventually. But being it was the first Volkswagen Audi event that I made it to in the last couple years, like I really wanted to like enjoy it and not like be like trying to podcast while I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. I can understand that.
I had so much fun, dude. I barely was able to take any pictures.
You know what I mean? That is when you really know you're having a blast, dude. Because when you've got time to take pictures, you're just kind of doing your own thing and it's cool. But like if you're having a blast, you don't have time. You kind of just forget about it. You're just in the moment.
Dude, I had a couple of buddies from California drive up. We made it over to the Portland area. It's like a 3.5 hour drive from where I'm at. And before I know it, dude, the show's like winding down, and I'm like, fuck, I didn't even take any pictures. So I'm like running around like trying to get pictures of whatever's left, and because I was just like having such a great time. What was crazy, dude, and like I have never experienced this before, is that like I've been doing my podcast for a little while, so I'm setting this booth up, and really we just got a booth so I could throw some stickers out. I have a bunch of cars. I have my VR Mark II. I had my wife's Jetta Coupe, and then a couple of buddies that parked in the booth. My buddy's got a VR swapped Caddy, and then my other buddy Matt has like this super dope Mark VII. So we kind of set this booth up, and I just wanted to like throw a bunch of stickers out, and just kind of have like a little presence. And thank you, Joey and Carrie. They just was like, you want a booth? Here's a booth. I was like, dude, that's so fucking awesome. But as I was like wiping down my cars, I was having so many people come up to me and be like, dude, I listen to your podcast. Dude, I follow your Instagram page. And it was like meeting these people through that was like awesome. You know, he'd be like, I'm so-and-so. And I'd be like, oh, I remember you. And you know what I mean? And we were
Right.
just having a conversation. Honestly, I didn't even get to wipe down my Mark II. Like, I was like chatting and just meeting people and having so much fun. Like 2.5 hours went by and I worked my way from my hood to like my driver's door. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. It's just going to be a dirty car.
Yeah. You get to that point.
Do you have that similar situations when you're going to car shows? Like when you're trying to set up a booth or anything like that? Like you guys got to run into that when you're...
Absolutely. There'll be time. What we try to do now is take turns. Like, all right, hey man, you want to run out real quick? Go look at some cars, and I'll like man the booth, and then vice versa, just so like we can each get out there and just look at cars, because there were some shows we went to that we were just in the booth the whole time, and we're like, fuck, we didn't get a chance to look at any cars, any parts. Like we were going to these shows, and you know, like they've been giving out the posters. Like Volkswagen America has been giving out the car specific poster for Mark 1, Mark 2, whatever it was, and we didn't get any of them. So we're going to these shows. We were like the first people to go over there, set up in the morning, first thing. We could walk over and get anything we wanted pretty much. And we were just kind of forgot because we were like just started going into like the booth mode. And then we're like, we're gonna take a step back and be like, now for the past couple of shows, we're like, okay, let's go get some posters. Let's go do that stuff. Maybe walk around, look at some parts or look at some cars, and then we'll start the booth and the podcast or whatever else.
Dude, I did the same thing at Pacific Waterland. Like, I'm actually bad about that stuff. Like, I'm not really like a merch collector like that. As far as like the Volkswagen posters and stuff like that, I hadn't really paid attention to them. I guess they're a huge thing. But one of the dudes actually was like trying to hand one to me, and I was like, "Oh, I'll grab one later." You know what I mean? Because I was zipping through the booth, and then a buddy hit me up and was like, "Hey, did you get any of these posters from the Pacific Waterland show?" And he's like, "Back east," and I'm like, "No." He's like, "They had Mark V posters there. Didn't you see them?" I'm like, "I actually didn't pay attention at all, but I guess I should have." I was stoked because I think like only a couple weeks before, the Low Show went down, and you know the Project GT Mark 8 was at the Low Show, and a couple other cars, but Volkswagen, I guess, stuck them on a transporter, and they made it to the Pacific Northwest for Pacific Waterland. Nice. So I was stoked to be able to see some of that stuff in the Volkswagen booth. They had like a GTI row where they had all these sick GTIs and Golfs parked. And again, I fucking didn't take as much, you know, like as a social media person or whatever, I would be better at taking pictures of the shit. But I was having so much fun, dude, but it was a great show. It really was worth, you know, waiting 2 years to go to a car show. I mean, it's right, because you've been such patient, just waiting for a show to come about like that. And it seems like it's very like how Waterfest was back in the day. So that definitely seems like it's a show to go to. Besides Pacific Waterland, we've got the SoCal Euro show down in San Diego. Those are like the two shows left on the West Coast.
That's pretty far to go to San Diego. That's not like it's, you know, a couple hours away.
I mean, there are other Volkswagen shows here and there, but a lot of them are like kind of all makes, or they're like air cooled, heavy with water cooled stuff. You know what I mean? They're not like full blown water cooled Volkswagen Audi events. You know, even the SoCal Euro show, that's kind of like an all Euro type of deal, which it's a great show, but fucking that's like 20 hours for me. You know? Yeah, exactly. That's I mean, you could probably fly down to it and get down there, but I mean, to drive, you know, say 2 or 3 cars or whatever the case is, if you're going out with friends, that's a long ride. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Yeah, dude. So that was fun. September was crazy, though.
Dude, it was. And then for me, nuts. I threw in going down to Florida and picking up a car too. So it was like just nuts.
What happened in Florida, dude?
Okay, so we've been looking for a vehicle for my wife for a daily driver because we got rid of, she had a Jeep Grand Cherokee that we got rid of. It was a lease, and we could get it back, and we rather sold it. And so she wanted to get into a Porsche Cayenne manual at first, and it was just so hard to get one. And we did find one, but the deal fell through because the timing was off on it. So she's like, all right, I mean, I want to get behind, like, you know, another Audi. She wanted a Q7 TDI or a Touareg TDI, something like that. Or if she found a clean wagon, She was even looking for like a B7 or B8 wagon, but in B8, I mean, you can't get them in a manual. She preferred a manual.
Yeah.
So then I happened to, the market up by us has been crazy for used cars.
Yeah.
You're talking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 over what they would have been gone for, say a couple
Jeez.
years ago.
Wow.
It's been nuts. So I hop online. I happen to find a 13 T3 Touareg down in near Miami, Florida, outside of Miami, with 55,000 miles on it for the right price.
Brand used.
So like, it was used. I hit the dealership up, and it was like a supercar / exotic car like dream dealership. It was nuts. They had everything and anything under the sun in there that was just crazy cars. I mean, they had E46 M3s with 20,000 miles. They had first gen RX7s and Supra, and they had some 964 911 turbos, and they had some just crazy stuff. Ferraris and Rolls Royce Phaeton hanging out in the corner. It was just nuts. And then they also had a lot that had like your daily driver cars, SUVs. The Touareg they had. So I talked to my wife about it. She said I was crazy, and then I said, well, let's see how much shipping's going to be. I said, all right, so it's way too much because of gas and everything. Shipping's way out of the question.
Yeah.
I looked at the flights to go down to Florida from our area to down to Fort Lauderdale, which is actually closer to flying to us. $35 to fly down.
What?
So this is ridiculous. I have got to go down with this. So I booked a flight and went down. The dealership picked me up. Made the deal. Everything was good to go. And I drove it up to Orlando. That I was supposed to, well, we're outside Orlando, Sanford, where the auto train is for Amtrak. So I was going to get on the auto train. I had a ticket for that day. I missed it by like a minute. Literally,
what?
They closed the gate. So luckily I have my family that lives in Orlando. My aunt, grandmother, cousin, they're like, I haven't seen them in about 3 years before the pandemic stuff happened. So they were like more than happy for me to come over and visit and stay the night there. And I was able to get the train the next day. So it just worked out, and hopped on the train the next morning. Brings you to Virginia, and then drove home for Virginia. So it worked out like perfectly.
That's
but
crazy.
It was a long couple days.
Damn, dude. I just found it on your Instagram. That thing's clean, dude. White is my favorite color on cars, so good job with that.
Yes, my wife loves this. So we got some plans for it. She wants to get some lowering springs for it. After the warranty's up, do a tune. She wants to do a Porsche theme, do some Porsche wheels on it, and a couple other things. So, it's for me, I do some towing and pulling with my truck. It's like a great alternative to that because, I mean, having a TDI and just like Beelman with Ryan's Touareg, I've seen what his can do for towing. I was impressed, man. I couldn't believe how great they actually tow. So later on down the road, I might just unload my truck if it seems like it's, something I'm not really using anymore that I have. Dude. So
sick. How does that Amtrak thing work? I'm not familiar with that. So you can actually book a ticket on the train and drive your car onto it and then just ride wherever you're gonna go?
Yeah, man. There's two separate tickets. You buy one from the car and then one for yourself. So it's about $300.
All right.
For the car and yourself, and like you're not like how you would be on a regular plane where you're just cramped up and like you're elbow to elbow. You've got like legit amount of room because it's a 2-seater as opposed to being 3 seats across, and like you've got like a bunch of feet in front of you. You can lay down, you can relax, you can even get a sleeper car and actually full on like sleep in like a bed. So like it is pretty sick. They got a diner. It's nuts.
So do you pull your car into a separate train car and then you like chill in like a passenger car? Like
yes, exactly. So you pull up, they'll take your car, give you a number for it, they'll pull it into the train car, and then you go into the coach car, your sleeper car, wherever you're at, and then you just hang out for the next 19-hour ride.
That's how I'm gonna make it to Low Show on my Mark 1 next year.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
Fucking ride across the country in a train.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sick. I'll look into that, dude. That's fucking dope.
Yeah, I think it leaves you off in Chicago. And then for Chicago, you hop another train and they take it to, I think it's like New York State or something like that.
Dude.
Maybe in PA. So, yeah, that's something to look into.
I definitely will, dude. That sounds like it'd be a fun adventure,
Yeah, man. It's cool.
Hopping on a train with a Mark 1.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I was thinking about selling my brown rabbit.
Oh wow.
I put it up for sale, but you know when you post a car for sale and then you instantly regret it? Not because you're selling the car, but like all the bullshit that you get from people. Like,
Yeah.
is it still available? Is it? And then you're
Right.
like, you can tell by the line of questioning people are asking, like, immediately, like, this car is not for you, dude. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. Hey man, this would be good for my first car. I'm gonna be community college, and like, no man,
hey, is it available? And they ask this line of questioning that's like, dude, it's a fucking clapped out Mark 1. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't have AC. It doesn't have all the things that you want. Just you asking that weeds you out of me responding.
Yeah.
No, dude. It's got rusted floor pans, raised strut towers. It rides horrible, but it's a fucking awesome car.
Right.
Yeah, I have too many projects right now, dude, and I don't know, you're the worst person to talk to. You got like 4 cars behind you.
I've got I got my Synchro, and I got my wagon, which is my daily, and then I got an '84 Rabbit GTI hanging out in the corner. That's a project car. Then I got my wife's car. It's underneath the house. That's in the heated garage, rightfully so, because she deserves to have her car down there. And then I got the Roadrunner that's hanging out here too. So
that's Daisy, right?
I got 2 things going on.
Dude, I don't know what to do, man. I'm like at that point where it's like, I want to keep everything, but I don't want anything.
Dude, I completely understand. I'm in the same boat, especially with my 84 GTI. Like, I wanted to make that a long-term project car for me and my son, and I kind of go back and forth with it. Granted, it only has 41,000 original miles, but it needs everything, like floors and a rear apron and the window surround and windshield and everything in between. It's been sitting for like over 10 years outside in the field.
Yeah.
So like it was awful. Like it needs everything. I've been putting together like a bunch of pieces for it. I got a brand new old stock dash in a box for it. It's got the burgundy interior. I've got a new old stock door panel in a box. I've got a lot of hard to find parts that are starting to come together for it. But it's like sometimes like time is just not worth it. Your time is valuable.
That's the realization that I'm coming to. It's like I'm just stretched for time to be able to do everything, and I want all these projects, but like I don't have time to concentrate on all the projects. Like, so I had my Mark II VR. I actually sold that. But I had that. I have my wife's Mark I Jetta Coupe. I've got the brown 79 Rabbit. I've got my Eurovan, and then I've got an Audi 80 rallycross car, essentially, me and my buddy built for some rallycross events. So it's like,
cool.
Between all these, it's like, dude, well, number one, I can't focus. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't focus on which one, and then it just becomes overwhelming, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't want to get rid of everything. So it's like, I wish I could just get a warehouse and just fucking start stuffing shit in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
dude, I want a barn. I want to get a barn, but it's like, then you got to worry about like, stuff that's sitting for who knows how long. It's like, fuck, man. Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. Like, I want to finish my wife's car. That first, before anything, I want to get the paint and body work finished on that. It still has to get cleaned up. It's got some rust repair we got to do on there, so I want to get that resprayed.
Let's talk about that car real quick, because we talked about it last time we did the podcast. But so that's Daisy, right? That's your wife's.
Yes, that's Daisy. 82 Rabbit convertible. It's got 2.5 swap on it. Done nothing. That thing rips.
Last time we talked,
that car more than her.
All right, so the last time we talked, I went down a fucking 2.5 swap rabbit hole. And I still want to do it. I actually was convinced I was going to do one in the brown rabbit before. Now I'm considering selling it. And then I also was like obsessed with B3 G60 Passat Synchros.
That's sick.
I was like, dude, this dude's car's actually super rare.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like, I guess before, I would say 10 years ago, you saw them a little more readily available. You don't see them at all. Like, there's like maybe one will pop up randomly here and there for sale, but you just don't see them. and it's a fun car. I've always been a G60 fan, so like for me, it was like the dream car for me to get that was obtainable besides like a rally golf that you just can't touch. Especially now, you really can't touch it. Like 10 years ago, you might have been able to, but it was still like out of my league, you know.
Dude,
so
that Passat minus it being in a Mark II golf body is literally a golf rally.
yeah, essentially, everything's the same on them.
Fuck, dude, that car is so sick.
It's like a poor man's golf rally.
Dude. That thing's real. And you imported that from Canada, right? I think that's
I went to Quebec, Canada. Guy had two. He had a wagon in that one, and the wagon was his baby.
Would be hard, dude.
Oh, I know, man. I've been wanting a wagon. That's what I really wanted, and I'm kind of holding out for one. But I'm still happy with what I have. If one came to fruition that I was able to get, I'd probably try to pull the trigger on it. But for now, I'm happy with the wagon.
You've totally changed my opinions on B3s, but specifically your car, specifically because of what it is, Synchro, G60. Last time we talked, like I was like, man, I was just never a fan of the B3s because the front end, and then like they've grown on me, like 100%.
Yeah, and there's some sick parts out there that you could like some really hard parts to find.
I can imagine, dude. Just normal like Mark 1 shit's hard to find. I couldn't imagine trying to find shit for a B3 Passat Synchro.
Yeah, look at like Stealth Cheetah's B3 wagon he's got, and he's got the super rare Votex front grille for that matches the LED headlights. That is like something that's like a unicorn, you know, like hen's teeth. It's just impossible to find, but it gives the car such a different look. Even throwing the dual round lights on it, like gives it a different look. I have a set of dual rounds. I actually got a couple sets that are like pieces. So I'm gonna put together one nice set and then throw them on there. So I also got some smoke tails for it I'm gonna be throwing on.
Nice.
And I just want to clean the car up a little bit.
Dude, that thing's sick. I fell in love with that thing after we did our last podcast. I was looking in, I'm like, dude, that car's so sick. Did you ever get another waffle cap?
Not yet. I found a brand new one. So I got the waffle cap sourced. I still got to get the hex and then the center cap logo. So I think I'm going to have to get that from across the pond. I found more of them readily available over there. So because I found stuff here, but it's kind of roached. And I don't want something I'm going to have to refinish because I'm already spending $100 and whatever on something that's like in bad condition or poor condition. Yeah. So it's like, if I'm going to do that, I might as well buy one new. Yeah. And like, I've been trying to like not wanting to do that, but like, it's like $250 for everything new. And it's like, you know what, dude, it's just peace of mind to do that rather than having to worry about refinishing it and going through that process.
Dude, I like my wife's coupe has those BBS RTs, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I like religiously check those center caps. I almost kind of just want to pull them off and just drive around without them, but she doesn't like that look.
Seriously.
She doesn't like the look. She's like, I don't like that. Put the center caps on. So I'm like, checking them out. Like, are you gonna take the Mark 1? All right, I don't know, like run around.
She's like, I don't yell at me. She's like, use the tool, man. You're supposed to use the tool. Like, why didn't you just? I was like, I know. It was just like I threw them on quick, and I just did them real quick, and I took it for a ride, and didn't realize it, and then next thing you know, I'm fucking missing the cap, and it's like, oh my god. Yeah, I drove to work that one morning after just throwing the wheels on. I forgot to go back and just tighten them down, and they were they were pretty much hand snug. So the other ones were good, and just one must have just been loose and just popped right off, and that's it. And they're 16s, so like they're harder to find a 16 cap. I can find 15s all day long, or the smaller ones, but the 16s are just a lot harder to get. They haven't made them in years. So
I have some buddies that I called on, and I was like, yo, and they didn't have anything. So
yeah, I've hit up a bunch of people, and they're all the same. Like, yeah, man, I got a set, and then it's like, oh, it's for 15. It's like,
yeah, my buddy. I hit up my buddy Kevin, Euroimage Kevin. You might know of
Okay,
him,
nice.
But yeah, he used to make the flat caps for the RSs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was hitting him up. I'm like, yo, check out all your old stock, and he was like, man, I don't have any, but I tried, dude.
I appreciate that, man. And like, I could have gone with a different cap, and I don't want to because it's a half height. I like the half height. I could have gone with the full height or
half heights are where it's at. I like those.
Yeah.
The full height ones, they poke out too much for me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan personally, but they look nice. Don't get me wrong. I like them on cars, but I'm just not for me. It's not, it's not what I want to run.
Preference.
Yeah, and it just for the past few shows, I was able to get that out to Mark II Mayday. I got it out to Euro Summit, so I put like 350 miles, and knock on wood, no hiccups. I ran into an issue for low show because I wanted to get the car down there, and I threw on a water neck housing for it that was a brand new aluminum piece that had a pinhole in it.
Oh shit.
So it was just an old it was a casting flaw. So I wound up like having to wait for another water neck, and then it was on back order. So I wound up saying, "Fuck it." I put a new O-ring in it, put the old water neck on it that still had a crack on it, and just ran it. And it was like just a little seep here and there. Checking my coolant level, everything was still good. Came back from Mark II Mayday, checked it again. Coolant level was good. Wiped down a little seepage I saw, and then ran for Euro Summit.
It's good, dude.
Dude, it's right there on its last legs. It's like borrowed time, and like my wife's like, "You sure it's gonna make it? Like you're gonna have like me and your son in this car?" It's like, "Yeah, no problem. It's cool, man. It's good to go." I have no worries on. But I did bring like the new one I have, and like cool just in case it did take a shit on me. But knock on wood, everything worked out with the car, and it's a comfortable car to cruise in. I've got the Eurospec R32 seats in there that match the gray interior. A lot of people don't realize. They came up to me at the Euro Summit show and were like, "Oh, cool, you rewrapped your seats and blah blah." I'm like, "No, these are Eurospec gray R32 seats." So a lot of people don't realize those seats came from the factory in the European R32s as well as tan as well. And you can get them with the leather or with the suede. It might happen to have the suede in them. And dude, it was crazy. Like, when I found those seats, it was probably like, I don't know, 2010 on Vortex. And a guy had a post. He was selling he had just picked up a Mark IV Jetta that had the seats in it. And he just wanted stock seats. I happen to have a set of stock gray seats. So I was like, dude, I'll meet you in Jersey at this mall parking lot. And like for that, it's $500. We swapped seats in the parking lot, and like I've had seats ever since.
Dude, you came up on that.
It's like I don't see a couple, maybe 2 or 3 sets of those ever, like in the U.S. So
you need to post more pictures of that thing on your Instagram, dude.
Yeah, man, this should fall foliage and stuff. I'm definitely gonna be posting some more about it.
Oh, dude, throw some interior pics in there, because I always try to like stock. And I'm like, man, you've only got one picture of your Passat. Come on, Danny.
Man, it's like, especially when you're at the shows and stuff, it's like you're just doing other things, and it's like, fuck, I'm terrible at the Instagram thing, man. I'm awful because I'm always like posting stuff in my stories, and then like I forget to actually make regular posts, and then like 2-3 days go by, and I'm like, get into something else, and it's like, fuck, man. So it's like, damn, I forgot to do this, I forgot to do that, and then it's just gone out of my mind. I have ADD, so it's like, whatever. I'm just like on to 4, 5, 6 different things down the road.
I'm the same.
I can't focus.
I went to that car show. I went to the Pacific Waterland, and I don't think I posted pictures until like 2 days after the show. I was like, oh shit.
Right. Yeah. Yep,
exactly. Pictures up.
Yeah. So yeah, but for our plans for the winter is I want to get my wife's car done, get hers ready to go. So it's first ready for the show season because it needs some suspension work, needs some brake work because it's still pretty much on stock brakes. Oh. And with that 2.5 swap, man, it doesn't stop nearly as well as it needs to because you fuck it up and go, and it needs some upgrades.
My Mark I, my brown Mark I. So when I bought that car, one of the calipers were seized.
Okay.
Right. And I had a set of, so I was building a ABA swapped Mark I Caddy. And so I had all these extra parts from that build. I still ended up selling that. So I had a 10.1 Scirocco brake kit.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I'll just throw these on. So I throw those 10.1s on. Well, that stock master cylinder, not having that, dude.
So don't like it.
I got these big shiny 10.1s on my Brown Rabbit, and you literally have to pump the brakes to stop.
Yeah, Master Cylinder saying "fuck you."
Exactly, dude. If you go to like stop, like it's not gonna do anything. You literally have to give it 2 or 3 pumps, and then you could brake.
Yeah. You gotta swap the Master out to go with that. It's a nice upgrade. It's definitely a big improvement. Or even run G60 brakes too. At that, you can do that, but you still have to upgrade the Master on that.
And then finally,
you learn it the hard way. That's the way we've learned all these years.
Well, I knew that
ourselves in the hard way.
I knew when I did it, it was going to be an issue. It's just knowing, there's no way I'm going to throw these 10.1s on here and have this thing stop. But I mean, it was either that or have a seized caliper on one side.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Pick your poison.
That car's so destroyed, and I'm trying to sell it. It's a great car though. All right. It's super solid, like diesel.
Right.
So never had any issues with it starting, running. You know, brakes a little squishy, but they're Scirocco 10 ones, right?
Yeah.
Brand new drums. I've rebuilt all the rears. Like rears are brand new brakes. Pans are a little on their way out, especially on the driver's side. Just waiting for my fucking feet to do the Flintstone one day, hopping in.
Yeah.
What's been super difficult for me on this side of the fucking planet for some reason is just finding interior shit. You know, like when I bought the car, it came with a haggard interior, right? So then I had these old, I think you might know because you're a Corrado dude. So I had these old, like black leather Recaro trophies, and I was told that those came in the Canadian spec Corrado.
Oh yeah. The Canadian spec Corrados came with the Recaro trophy style. Like they have like you can get them in different cloth set, colors or whatever.
They were full leather, and you can tell they weren't rewrapped. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they were on like a lot harder cars to find. Like they didn't. It was a upgraded package, so those are pretty gnarly seats to have. That's a nice set,
dude. And I'm kicking myself in the dick because all right, so I had those seats. I actually traded some dude like these knockoff replica like Works Japanese wheels that I had just randomly for those seats.
Right.
You know, I had them up. This is a long time ago, dude. And dude was like, "Well, I don't, how much you want?" And he's like, "I have these seats," and I'm like, "Those look like Recaros." I was like, "What are they out of?" He's like, "Oh, I had them in a Mark III." I was like, "All right, I'll trade you. Fuck it, I'll trade you these replica ass wheels for some trophies."
Yeah.
So I get them, and a couple years go by, and they're just kicking around. And I threw them in a Mark I that I had, pulled them back out, and they were just kind of kicking around some projects that I had. But I had a black Mark I Swallowtail that I had those seats in, that looked good, and then I sold that car, but I pulled the seats out.
Right.
And then it wasn't until recently that a buddy of mine was like, "What'd you do with those seats?" I was like, well, so I get the brown Rabbit. It's got a haggard interior. I threw those seats in it for a little bit, but I didn't like the black and the brown. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I just didn't like that. So I traded those seats to a buddy for like a full Mark I interior. And apparently it was like 1 year rare Jetta coupe door cards and shit, right? But I got some tweed seats and then like a Mark II rear bench.
Okay.
Right? So nothing that actually works for a Mark I. So the tweed Mark II seats, somebody cut the seat posts down to lower the seat, but that made it to where the back of the seats didn't slide into the seat rails, and then you couldn't bolt a fucking a seatbelt receiver to them.
Oh, dude, what a bummer.
So, I'm like, so that sucks, right? They looked good, but I was like, all right, I'll throw these in there. I'm only driving a couple miles to Cars and Coffee in this car. Not a big deal. If anyone hits me, I'm definitely dead, but whatever. Right?
Right.
So I did that, and I was like, you know what? I need to get like seatbelts in this car. So then I buy a set of Mark I GTI seats, like the red cloth GTI seats, and they're fucking haggard because they're cloth.
Yeah.
But at least it's a seat that goes in right. I got a seatbelt receiver.
Right.
Everything's good, right? But it just now the interior just looks super haggard because it's got red seats, brown door cards, and then like a tan Mark II rear bench. So I've just been fucking struggling just to put an interior together for this car.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, dude. It's just like I went, the Pacific Waterland thinking I could pick up, some interior stuff, and it's just fuck, dude. I'm all over even burn all the Mark I's and the Mark I classifieds, and it's just like I don't know why, but like I can't find a fucking interior for this car.
Right. Yeah, I'm on the same boat with my GTI. I have the passenger seat, which is good. The rear bench, I sourced another one, which is perfect. And I just can't find that fucking driver's seat, man. I need the driver's seat.
You can have mine.
Because my bolsters are shit. The centers are garbage. So I need one complete driver's seat.
Oh.
Or if I could find a passenger seat that's decent, I could probably work with it and play around with it and swap some stuff over.
Yeah.
But it's like I just need to find that one good seat. It's like it's been impossible to find. It's been tough.
My passenger seat is in better condition. That's always the case, right? The passenger seat's always in better condition. So my GTI seat's passenger condition's way better than driver. But like the driver's seat's this full center section of the cloth is just completely fucking blown out.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just like you're just hanging out and chilling on fucking the actual foam.
Yeah, well, I fucking I put duct tape over the foam so I wasn't just sitting on foam, because I would jump in the car and then you would have that fucking death foam just shoot up and get into your face. You know what I mean?
In your face on the floor. It's like all over the place. Yeah.
Fucking asbestos. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just frustrated with that car. It's a great car, dude. It's super fun to drive, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I cracked the oil pan a couple weeks ago.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. I have a pan. I just got to swap it out, but I lowered it like another inch, and I was cruising it around, and I came up on a railroad crossing a little too hot, and then again the car doesn't stop. So I didn't realize I didn't realize the railroad tracks were actually up. You know what I mean? Like the tracks are sticking out of the actual asphalt. Yeah. And I'm like cruising up. I'm like, oh, I'll just take this sideways. And I'm like, oh shit. And I go to brake and there's no brakes. And I just go, and I'm like, oh fuck. And then, you know, me and my buddies, we park, we get some food, and I'm like pulling away, and I look in the rear view and there's like a giant puddle of oil. I'm like, oh. Got the car up in the air. Man. You know that little, like in the Mark 1 pans, like right where the drain plug goes, there's that little like bubble that comes down. Dude. I hit it right there, and it cracked up to the drain plug, and it's just draining.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
dude. And that's one thing like I'm happy with about my wife's car, because we were thinking about. Well, I was thinking about doing a VR swap because she loves the way VR sound, and she's always wanted a VR. But like for drivability for like my wife, I didn't want something that she had to worry about driving. Yeah. And then like comparing the 2.5, it has just as much power. And it only weighs like 18 pounds more than what the 4-cylinder does pulling it out, because it's plastic and aluminum. So like power to weight, it's fucking awesome, because like you don't have like that extra weight over the front end like the regular VRs do, and you don't have that low oil pan. The oil pan sits almost in the same location as the stock pan sits. Yeah. So I'm not going to be slamming that car down or anything, but I mean, just for drivability, she doesn't have to sit there and worry about hitting those kind of bumps or like fucking going over like a railroad crossing or something.
Yeah. And
it just rips with the limit slip diff in that thing.
Dude.
It's a fun car. Like she's gonna have a lot of fun with this fall with it, because she's like last year she was only limited to when she could get it out and drive it with the baby and everything. Now that he's getting older, she can put him in it, take him around, go drop him off when she needs to drop him off for daycare, and then she goes to her job. So it's a fun car. And between that, the Synchro, and my wagon, it's like I got a full plate, throwing a Roadrunner in there. It's like fuck, man. I got
a GTI.
Yeah, I'm still trying to source. I've been looking for a Rabbit pickup for the longest time. I want a sunbright yellow truck to match hers, to go like a his and her theme with her convertible. I had a Nugget Yellow G60 before, and we had this yellow thing that like we did kind of have like that his and her theme before, and then I sold both of my Nugget Yellow G60s, so I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass for doing that, but I always wanted a truck, so hopefully I can find something that is worth it, and I don't have to like drive to like across the country to get it, because like I did find one in Utah. And I'm like, fuck, man, 30 hours. I'm trying to figure out how to like put in like a 60+ hour round trip in between all these shows, and like trying to go for work. And I'm like, this is not going to happen. It was one at the auction, and the insurance auction that was perfect patina. It was an 81, so it was a late Westie, but I was cool with it. It didn't run. So I'm like, all right, how am I going to get this thing across country that doesn't even fucking run? And it's like, it's at an insurance auction, so I can't just work on a thing. I'm going to have to pull out this auction and be like on the side of the road with it. So it's like, it just wasn't meant to be.
I love caddies too, dude. I think.
Yeah, man.
I know, I'm trying to get rid of all my fucking shit right now, except for the Jetta Coupe. Jetta Coupe's not going to go anywhere. I love that car.
Nice. Yeah, because you
My
like
wife
for your
loves that
wife.
car. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got that fairly recently, right? For
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. It's been a couple months. I'm probably gonna
Right.
get. I want to bag it, and I'm probably gonna get a different. I have the BBS RTs on it right now. I just don't like how
Yeah.
they sit. I'm not a fan of staggered wheels anymore on Mark
Okay.
1s because like the
Yeah.
tire size thing nowadays, I mean, it's so fucking hard to find what used to be common tire sizes. You can't even
Yeah.
get a 165/45 and a 15 anymore.
Right,
They're
dude. It's
fucking just
crazy.
gone.
Yep.
So, like I hate the fact like when you get in 16s, the tire diameters 165 and then jumps up to 195. Well, if you got
And that's it.
if you got a 16 by 7.5 wheel, 165 looks great. 16 by 8, little too much of a stretch, right?
Right.
So you got to go to a 195, and now it's like a way meatier, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like setup.
It's a different look completely. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just don't like the stance on my wife's car because I have a 195 on an 8.
Yeah.
And the rear, I've got like a little bit of a rake because
Right.
it rubs on the tires, and so
Yeah.
I don't know. I might pull those off and rebuild them, or maybe get another set of wheels that fit it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll figure
Dude, the
it out.
tires are just nuts. You just can't find anything unless you're gonna wait
It's
to get
crazy.
it from like across the pond or something
Yeah.
like that. It's just tough.
Did you ever use Tires Easy?
No, I have not.
Not a lot of people knew about them. A lot of my friends in my circle knew about them. Tires
Yeah.
Easy. They're just like a tire.com website. I've used them
Right.
forever, but you could get the most random fucking tire sizes, the most random tire brands you've never heard of.
No shit.
Yeah, and I used to go on Tires Easy and get fucking any fucking tire. I remember they had 13-inch Sumis back in the day when it was cool to run 13s on a Mark 1.
Yeah.
Fucking, they had like every federal tire size and every weird fucking size, right? Like only a couple years ago, I had like a whole garage full of 165/45 15s,
Right.
And now it's like, actually, I was just texting a buddy the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I just fucking found a set," and I'm like, "Those are hard to get now?" He's like, "Yeah," and then I looked it up. I'm like, "Fucking, they don't exist anywhere anymore, dude."
Yeah,
Like,
you
what
can get
the
them at all.
fuck?
I think where the fuck do they all go? It's crazy.
Dude, I don't know if manufacturers. What is it? Is it manufacturers that are just weeding those tire sizes out because they're not as common anymore? Because if you
That's
think
what it
about
seems
it,
like to me.
yeah, most stock wheels
Yeah.
that come on fucking cars now are like 17 to fucking 20s, right?
Right, exactly. And like you would think that this would be a common size with like the economical cars, the new ship boxes, but even those are running like 15 or 16 stock. That like
Yeah.
15 is like maybe like your maybe a 2 or 3 year old car because like now it's like 16s and up, but you didn't even find anything small like that.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. So yeah, I don't know, like shit like that's bumming me out.
Yeah, dude, I feel your pain. Me and Bierman were talking about the same exact thing about these tire issues that we've been having, and like, cause he's been trying to source even like a 195/45 that we would be able to go right down the street, go to our tire place, and just grab them. No big deal. They had them in stock, and now it's like you got a special order that to get from Tire Rack or Discount Tire, which
Yeah.
is fine because you get it in a day. But if you want it like that day, it's like you can't get it anymore.
Check out that website, tires. It's tires-easy.com.
Yeah, I'll have
They
to hit
used
it
to have
up.
all kind, dude. So when I was building, me and my buddy Simon were building we have an Audi 80, and we built
Yeah.
it for like rallycross.
Right.
And so we got these like super cheap Chinese-made 14-inch all-terrain tires.
No shit.
And they're fucking amazing tires. They were like $48 a tire.
Oh my
And
God.
they had like, I think they had like 10 tires in stock at the time, and we just bought all of them, and now we just can't find
Yeah.
them anymore. I forgot what the name of they're called, like, what was the name of the tire company, dude? It's like Star Tire or like Starfire Tire or something, dude.
Jeez.
But we were
Okay,
looking
yeah.
for, we don't want to put we were building a budget rallycross car for like the Gambler 500 rallycross events,
All right.
called like the
Yeah.
Hoopie Cross. And I'm like, well, I don't want to spend fucking money on actual rally fucking gravel or whatever tires.
Yeah.
Right. So and
That's big money.
we couldn't find anyone who made an all-terrain tire and a 14, and then I stumbled across them, and then fucking bought the whole cache, and now you can't. I don't think you can get them anymore. But I have like friends who are into like Vanagons, like synchro Vanagons and stuff, and they're like, "Where the fuck did you get these tires?" I'm like, dude, those are the last 10 in existence for all I know.
Dude, those are like crazy how the prices have just like skyrocketed for like synchro Vanagons and you know, anything like that. It's just like you can't touch anything decent for like under like 40 grand. It's nuts.
Synchros are crazy, but that also drugged the price of like the two-wheel drive stuff up.
Yeah,
so anything that's a Vanagon, if it's a Westie, a Vanagon in general, dude. I don't know about the prices where you guys are at, but on the West Coast, especially Central Oregon, I say this all the time, kind of to make fun of it, but I think this is the mecca of the Vanagon. There are literally shops in this town that do nothing but TDI swaps in Vanagons, and they'll have a parking lot full of like 20 fucking Vanagons.
Wow, that's wild.
It is like
so
Vanagon
pretty hot out there still.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So you know, I really wanted a T3. Right?
Yeah.
I really wanted T3 Vanagon before I got my T4, and I was in the market for it. But, dude, like, even the most clapped, non-running T3 that I could find, you're spending $5, $6, $7 grand on.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially, you know, a few years back, you can get them for nothing. Like, people were like, give them to you. Like, here, I don't want this van anymore. It's 20 grand a box. It's yours.
Sit in my yard for 10 years.
Yeah.
Get the shit out of here. No, dude. You can't find, like, from my experience, maybe there'll be one or two that'll pop up, but from my experience, you're not spending less than $6 grand for a 10 top.
Who would have thought that? It's nuts. Like, you look at the market and stuff, and you're talking like big money that like would say Porsche 911s would go for, whether it be a 964 or even like even some of the newer stuff that's coming out. And it's like, no, Vanagon.
Dude, there's these
R32. It's like these stupid numbers are coming for these cars, and it's like, wow, what is Mark 1 Rabbit GTIs? Like, people would just give those away because nobody wanted those back in the day. Now, I'm not gonna say nobody, but they weren't the most sought after cars back. That was like your beater, and then you had like your Swallowtail or your earlier car.
Yeah, everyone wanted the early Rabbit, still do.
Yes, exactly. Now a clean GTI is going for like 20 grand and up, which is nuts.
Yeah, well, I think the late Westies have gained popularity.
They have. They really have.
Like you hit that nostalgia vibe with the square headlights now. I think they're like people think they're hot. They grew on me. I wasn't a huge fan of late Westies, and I was guilty of doing round swaps on many a late Westie Mark 1s I've owned. Not to piss off a lot of purists here. But dude, all that stuff is crazy. There's a shop here in my town called Crooked Finger Designs. A bunch of cool dudes, and they work on like Vanagons and transporters and stuff like that. And they have this TriStar upfitted, imported from France, I think. T3 Vanagon with like this whole bed conversion camper thing.
Okay.
70 grand.
Wow. That's
70
crazy.
grand. They have it listed for 68 grand. It's probably worth that. But fucking
yeah. Sure.
I'm just like, holy shit, that 68 grand. I know like cars, the whole market's crazy right now, but 68 grand will still buy you a lot, dude.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Fuck.
You could buy a lot for that.
I know,
you
dude.
Could buy a lot of cars for that. Especially the shit boxes that we're into. You could buy a lot of
dude. You know how many fucking shitbox Mark 1s and Mark 2s I could get for 68
go
grand?
with it.
Oh, that'll buy like 70 Mark 4s.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Speaking
I understand that.
Speaking of, though, Mark 4s are in a little weird area right now, would you say?
They are. Yeah. It's interesting because they're, I think, starting to slowly come around because everyone beat them to the ground and whatever, and like, sure, you got your specialty cars that with the 28, 337, R32s, the GLIs, but for the most part, they were just throwaway cars. No one really gave two shits about them, and like they're starting to come around in price, especially if you got one of the specialty cars with low miles on them. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the next few years.
I know this is kind of cliche to say. The Mark IV is literally the new Mark III.
Yeah.
Remember when no one fucking liked
Yeah.
Mark IIIs? When Mark IIIs first came out, like the VR, the GTIs, all right, cool. Like you had like,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like the base model Mark IIIs, no one gave a fuck about. Right?
I was the same boat. I was not a fan of Mark IIIs when it came out. I was like, yeah, whatever. I like the VRs.
Yeah.
But like the rest of them, I was like, fuck the Sequoia Green. It's all you see, like automatic. Like I can give two shits about these cars.
Right. But as they got haggard and trashed, and then you lose the support of the aftermarket and even the OEM stuff, like a bumper, right?
Yeah.
Becomes super hard to get a hold of.
Right.
It put the Mark IIIs in these weird areas because the cars themselves, at one point, if they weren't like a driver's edition, you know, GTI or whatever, GLX Jetta, whatever, like if they weren't really like that sought after model that was in good condition, they basically weren't worth shit.
Yeah.
Right? So if you were building a Mark III, you got stuck in that conundrum where it's like, dude, all the Euro parts, all the cool shit for these cars are top dollar, but the car itself isn't worth shit. And that's exactly where the Mark IVs are now. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like stock HIDs on Mark IVs, RSSR taillights, like all the shit to make a Mark IV cool is like top dollar now, but the Mark IVs themselves aren't really worth a shit unless they're one of the sought after models in great condition. What's weird is how many people let their fucking 20ths go to shit. Do you know how many see? Do you know how many 20ths I see? Yeah. Do you know how many 20ths I see on Facebook Marketplace that are just fucking haggard?
Yeah, dude.
And it's like, oh my god, dude, what'd you do to this car?
It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, especially cars, people just drove the shit out of it because I guess you could still get them fairly cheap. And they were like, you know, the high schoolers, early 20s kids' cars that they just fucking put on air ride and bake in the fenders and like that's it. And let's fucking slam these cars down and made them just look like shit.
I don't want anyone to quote me on this because my memory is kind of foggy because I've done a lot of illicit drugs and drinking in my day. But
yeah, man.
When Mark IV 20ths first came out, those were not cheap cars, especially for like 2003, 2004, 2005 money.
For the market in the low to mid 20s, I think I want to say they were like 24, 25,000 when it came out. That was some strong money.
I think out the door with dealer markups and shit, you were still looking at like the high 20s.
Yeah.
28K for a fucking...
It's a lot of coin for that time. You know, you were... Especially someone out of high school or in your early mid 20s, that was a huge car payment. I remember we had some cars, and this is like 04, 05, and we wanted to buy a Mark IV GTI, and that was like 21, and that was like pushing.
That was a lot of money back then. It's still a lot of money nowadays, but fucking.
It's probably like in your mid 30s what a car would be right now, you know, for the market. Excuse me, we had a 07 Fahrenheit GLI that we bought brand new. And I was at 27. And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe we're spending $27,000 on this car. Dude, $27,000 doesn't buy you shit now.
Nah, dude. But, to be fair, going on like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, I mostly just stick to Marketplace nowadays.
Yeah.
Beat 20ths for like $5,000?
Yeah.
5 to 7 grand? Someone that
even cheap,
kind of clean.
There's one in town. The next town over for me, it's like $3,500. It's like it needs like a front end. It got some rust repair it needs. It doesn't have the right wheels on it, but like for $3,500, fuck, it's probably worth it. You know.
I know, man. There's like a black bag 20th in my area that I'm looking at. It's got the Aristos on it. It's got some dings and scrapes, but it's got like the OEM front, 20th lip, everything's still put together. Dude's asking like $5,500 for it.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, I think that's worth it. I'm not sure. I can't remember how many miles are on it, but man, it's just weird to think about that shit, you know?
Hell yeah. There was a black Magic Pearl 20th that was, I want to say it was on eBay about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was gorgeous. It had like, it was all pretty much stock except for had KW coilovers. It had a set of LMs on it and a couple of little bolt-on go fast parts. But it only had like I want to say it was like 18,000 miles on it, super low mileage. And like the guy was asking 12 or best offer, and people were just not entertaining that price. And like think about it now, 12K for a car with like 18,000 miles on it, that's a steal with LMs and like some suspension.
Shit, LMs?
Dude, it's like that.
Dude.
It's crazy. Like the market is nuts. Even R32s, like you can get R32 for 8-10 grand, and people are like, "Dude, you're asking 14,000. That's way too much for that car." And it's like now 14,000 is a steal for a decent R32.
Yeah. Well, I think I was talking to this about Ryan when we did our podcast too. I hate the fact that like you'll have some pristine examples of cars that sell for what they should be worth based on condition and mileage and stuff, and then everybody thinking that's what they have when they go to sell it.
Dude,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? Like
they think that their car is like that bring a trailer pristine car that's 60K, and it's like it's got 140K. It's been hit once, got an accident on the report. It's like, dude, what the fuck? No, it's not that car.
Yeah,
that is not the same car.
like I get bummed because a lot of Mark IV R32s that I see that pop up like don't have the factory bumpers, don't have the factory interior, don't have. I mean, there's like so much that's not the car. And dude, try getting like an OEM Mark IV R32 bumper these days. Like just
forget it.
Getting it.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. And it's just like, I want 12 grand for this car. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Man.
I've been trying to see if I can find one through the insurance auctions that maybe I can get a good deal on. Maybe one of these days down the road, because I'm still looking for like a Black Magic Pearl R32. That's where I'm at with it. That's like my favorite color for them. Tornado Red is my second, so I wouldn't I wouldn't push the Tornado Red aside. But if I can get something that's a reasonable price, I don't even know what the hell reasonable price is anymore.
30 grand?
I would definitely, right, it's like I don't know. It's like I'll definitely entertain pulling the trigger on one. But yeah, dude, it's crazy.
It's just weird, dude. Like I sold a set of CHs to this dude. Came out of Portland, and like we're chatting. He meets me down the street from my house. This is like a year or so ago, and we're talking, and I'm like, what are you putting these on? He's like, oh, Mark IV Golf R32. I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I just bought one, actually from a kid around here. I gave him $5,500 for it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, he just needed to get rid of it, and he knew a buddy who knew a buddy, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Where was I? Where was I when the $5,500 Mark IV R32 just fucking popped up and someone needed to get rid of it?
That's crazy. Yeah, the only time I've seen those deals like when the Haldex is out, it's fucking roached.
Fuck,
it has no bumpers or the wrong bumpers and the interior's out of it. Like $5,500 is crazy.
Dude, I asked him. I was like, what? I was like, what's the condition? I think there's like 150,000 miles on it, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And the dude had some bunk like wrap on it. But other than that, it was like in good condition for $5,500. I was like, fuck.
Dude, there are still deals out there to be had. You just got to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Or find them. I think sometimes if you look too hard, you just you just don't find them. And it has to like fall in your lap.
Burn yourself out.
Yeah, because like sometimes I just say, I'm going to take a step back, like not do anything for, whatever, it's a couple of days or a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And
then kind of go back into it slowly. And next, you're like, oh shit, look at this or look at that. And I don't know. It just seems like that's how it happens. Like even with like finding my wife's Touareg for her, like we were hitting it hard. We're trying to find like, pretty hard cars to find. But I'm like, they're readily available. And it's like we couldn't find anything that we were looking for. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. It wasn't like these are rare vehicles. The Q7 TDI, okay, yeah, it's a little more sought after. Porsche Cayenne's kind of rare with the manual. T3 Touareg, not that rare. Yeah. But we can't find anything. Yeah. And then we just had to be like, all right, we're just not going to look for a couple days. And then next thing you know, this one popped up. I was like, holy shit. And, here we are. So it's weird, man. It really is. You at least expect it. This like falls in your lap or it comes around.
Well, I hope a Mark IV R32 falls in my lap. That is still...
Yeah, dude. Seriously.
I miss mine so much. And out of all the 30 or so Volkswagens that I've owned in my life, That's probably the one that I regret most of letting go.
That's what I've heard of other people say, and so much so that they've gone into another one. That's what Ryan said when he sold his R32. And cruising both of his R32s, like, I get it. I can understand why the car is a special car because, you know, riding in a Mark IV is one thing, but that car is such a different car.
Yeah.
And it's not the fastest thing in the world. It doesn't handle the best. It's just a feeling you get when you're behind the wheel of it.
Yeah, dude. It's just like it's an actual car, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like once you start getting in the Mark 6s and the Mark 7s, and don't get me wrong, I love the Mark 6 Golf Rs, Mark 7 Golf Rs. They're awesome cars. They're fucking rocket ships. But I feel like they have no soul to them, really.
Dude,
you know
that's
what
what
I mean?
everyone says. Same thing. I feel the same way. You know, it's they all sound the same. They're fast. You know, they're reliable for the most part, but it's just like it doesn't give you the same feeling.
It's weird, like how things have flipped, because back in my day, when I had the Mark IV R32, and it was a new car, everyone shit on them because everyone was driving around Evos and STIs back in those days.
Yeah.
And Evos and STIs were clapping Mark IV R32s. Unless you had an HPA kit, like you had no chance to fuck with these Evos and STIs, right?
Yeah, if you had a V1 Vortec kit, you might be able to, you know, keep up for a little bit, but
a little bit.
Dude, it was just
a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you had a turbo on that thing, it just, you know, it wasn't the same kind of car.
No, dude.
But you couldn't compare because of that. It wasn't the same. They weren't in the same market or the same genre of car because it was just two different kinds of cars completely. You got these 4-door rally cars that are turboed that were built for these kind of rally racing. Then you got this Mark IV 32 that was just a different car.
Yeah. But it definitely was slow for its time versus what else was out there. Now the tables have flipped. Dude, you get into a Mark 7 Golf R, a Mark 6 Golf R, you'll be fucking kicking some dicks in, dude. Like, those things are fucking
100%.
quick, dude.
Yeah. And it's weird because it's almost like Volkswagen got late to the game with those specialty cars, like with the market, because they've had this technology out for decades about turboing an R and doing these other, or just a VR6 motor in general. And it's like, why wouldn't you just do that? Why wouldn't you just go for broke and just fucking throw it in there and do 300 plus horsepower out of the gate, you know, on a low boost setting, and then just start annihilating shit? And it's like, I get it. That's not where their mindset was, and they wanted these cars to be marketed more for like the people's car family, you know, that kind of stuff, and not the motorsport side. But even though they were still big involved in motorsports, so it was like,
I would say,
they lost their way a little bit.
I would say, like, if we're talking about the Mark IV Golf R32, I would say that is a way more refined car than the Evos and the STIs of their time.
Agreed.
And even, like, what else were we talking about back then? Like the neon SRT4s?
SRT4s, yeah.
Those things are flying fucking turds. And you don't see any of them. I saw one on the road a couple months ago. I was like, what the fuck is that? He has, like, the only SRT4 that's still running on the planet.
Yeah,
I'm convinced. Because they all blew the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right, dude, because
but the Mark IV R32 was like a refined car. It drove the engine, like it drove fucking well. The exhaust note you can't beat. The interior was top notch. Like it was a refined car versus like an Evo and STI. They were quick, they were fast, but like the interior, I never really liked, you know, like STI or Evo interiors.
Yeah, it just felt like it was a cheaper car.
Yeah.
My friend had, he's always been a Volkswagen, his Volkswagen and Audi tech, and he's a Porsche tech, and he has always had Volkswagen, then he got an STI, and like he only had it for a short time because he said the car was a shitty car. Like it felt like shit, it rode like shit, it felt like the doors were paper thin, like it just didn't feel safe. The interior was garbage. Like he just was not happy with the car. Oh, went back to another Volkswagen after that, and it was just, you know, it's built for what it's made to do, and that's pretty much it.
I think,
but they're going for big money too now. They're going for strong money.
Dude, yeah, I know. For me, dude, like if I wished a next project, it would be a Mark IV R32 for sure.
Yeah.
And I really, 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 really want like a VR Corrado, dude. SLC.
Dude, yes,
Like,
I'm in the same boat with the Corrado.
bad. Like,
Dude,
bad. I was at that car show a couple weeks ago, dude, and I was just looking at all the fucking Corrados, just like, oh, dude, I want you so bad.
dude, I got my Corrado shelf in the garage, still hanging out there. You can see I got a front bumper,
Yeah.
90 millimeter lip, and I still have the bra from my Corrado. So like, I feel your pain on that. Like, if I can eventually pull the trigger again on another Corrado, I will. It's just gotta be the right one.
Yeah.
I've been looking. There's been a couple of been for sale that I've had the opportunity to purchase, and it just weren't the right ones for me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for something that's probably more special that I'm gonna really hold on to.
I've seen a couple pop up in my area, but they're pretty haggard.
Yeah.
G60s, and I don't want a haggard G60. So,
Dude, Haggard G60 is no
I don't
fun.
want a haggard G60.
That's kind of like I've been lucky when I had my G60, my last two, the Synchro and my last Corrado, because they were stock. And going from a stock car, like, knock on wood, I've never had problems with them because of them being unmolested.
Yeah.
My first G60 I bought was in '99 out of high school, and this was like fucking modded to the gills. I had 1.9 Ross Force pistons, Altec cam, like.
This is your first car, right?
Dude, this is my first. I remember
talking about it.
Yeah. So my Nugget Yellow G60 I bought in '99, which Seb Cole has now from Cole's German Auto. He did a TDI swap on it. I'll get to that in a second, but that was my first G60 that or first Volkswagen I ever bought. And I was looking at another one out of town, like in Massachusetts, and I live in PA. And my mom was like, "Nope, you're not going up to Massachusetts to buy that car. Let's find something closer by." And she happened to find this Nugget G60 in town, and I was like, "Okay, I'll take a look at that." She's like, "Well, what about this one?" I was like, "Yeah, I like it. Let's take it for a ride and everything." And I had a Ford Escort GT at the time that I was beating around. I traded the guy $6,000 in my Escort GT for this car. So like,
sick.
It was a weird trade, and like he did the deal. And like after that, I rocked it as a daily. Like I was going to college for a short period of time, and I was rocking it for like an hour back and forth as a daily, and going to work with it. And like pretty much every Corrado problem you can have with that car fucking happened, dude. Aside from like the wing still working, the sunroof working, like everything else happened. I grenaded a charger, I blew the motor, like I did some dumb shit with it, and like you just live from your mistakes. And I remember going to work with my girlfriend at the time, which was my wife now. We've been together that long, since like she was like her senior year in high school.
Nice.
I blew the motor like taking her to work.
Oh shit.
Her first like experience with like these cars was like awful. So she's probably, I can't believe she's still with me because like we always had issues with that Corrado, man.
That's
it was awful.
The G60 living up to its name.
Dude, yeah, 100%. I remember going to Penn State for a car show a couple years later after I put another motor in the car, and the water neck blew on that. And like we're in like middle of nowhere state college that there was nothing open. It was Sunday afternoon, going to the evening. There's nothing, no parts stores open. I can't get a water neck. So like a friend of mine was like, "Dude, I got a Jimmy hat. Like we could cut this condom apart and use the O-ring on the condom and like just fucking throw that in there and like silicone it." And it fucking worked, dude. I drove 3 hours back from state college with like a condom on the fucking water neck.
Yeah,
I've always had these water neck issues, I guess.
Yeah, dude. That's crazy.
But yeah, that car, my mom helped me get that car, and I always said that I would never sell that car. And like I had it for years. I wound up parting it out for when we got our Mark IV, and I did the Mark IV build on that. And it just sat like outside, like covered. And I was like, I always said I was gonna get back to that car, get back to it. And then like life happened and shit happened, and I didn't. So like fast forward like 10 years later, I was going through some stuff personally, and I was like, I had to unload things. I had my second Nugget Yellow G60 at the time that I had for about, I want to say 5 or 6 years at that time. And I unloaded both of those cars, and it broke my heart to get rid of that first one. Like it was a basket case, but like I was lucky enough to see that I went to a good home. Like Seb from Cole Works down near Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He got the car and did a TDI swap on it, and like. Yeah, dude.
So
it
like
was
a
at
1.9 AHL?
Yeah, 1.9 LH. Like it was at Euro Summit 2 years ago, and it's been like cool to see that car like it's still around and it wasn't like junk or scrap because that car was in rough shape. It's sat for years.
That's such a sick swap for a Corrado. Like,
yeah, man,
I'd be down with that, dude.
No, 100%. Like, it's cool that he like kept like a lot of the stuff I had on the car. I had like an old school Velocity Sport tuning decal, Eurosport, and New Speed, and it's still on the car to this day, which is cool.
Eurosport.
Yeah, man.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, the Corrado, besides all the obscure water-cooled Volkswagens like the Foxes and shit like that,
right?
A Corrado and a Scirocco are like the only two I haven't owned.
Yeah, man.
I'm not a huge fan of like the Mark II Scirocco's. Like, I really love the Mark I Scirocco's.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with that. I agree with that.
So a clean Mark I Scirocco, that's a fucking unicorn car.
Yeah.
100%. Where's that?
Anywhere you go.
Where's that gonna fucking pop up?
West or something else, dude. That's just it's a hard car to find.
So I've kind of written that off. But maybe I'll find a clean Corrado SLC VR one of these days.
And it's crazy because they're going for dumb money now. Like if you get a clean one, you can still find those people that don't know the market and get a decent deal on one. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's like local in your town or like on a marketplace setting or something. Even possibly like on like the Samba, because the Samba still has some diamonds on that.
I forgot about the Samba, dude.
Dude, yeah, man. Like there was an S1 right now. It was on there last week. It's already pending, but it was like in I want to say Idaho or Iowa. It was in Iowa for $2,800. It was a clean 81 S Mars Red. I'm like, this is a nice car for $2,800. And I'm like, fuck, man, it's in the Midwest. Like it's just not worth. It's like I can't get out there to get this car right now.
Hop on a train, dude. Hop on a train.
But right now, it's like, the cars that we've had for a little bit. Like my Subaru Crow I've had for 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. Her Rabbit convertible she's had since 2011, I want to say. Wow. So usually, for the most part, like we go through cars every couple of years and don't keep things. Mm-hmm. And like we've been having the same cars for a while now. So I see a change probably happening sooner than later for me, like getting into something else or adding to the fleet. Like I said, my GTI, I'm up on the fence. I'm not sure I'm what I'm going to be doing with that yet. I'm on the fence with that.
Yeah.
But like her car, like she's going to keep that forever. That car has sentimental value to her.
That's such a sick car, though. Yeah.
Daisy is like it pays homage to her sister that passed away unexpectedly back in 2012, and it was just one of those things that it was an unfortunate incident that occurred, and like she named the car Daisy after her sister that passed away. So she went through a rough patch of that car as well because she wound up hitting a deer with the car, and it sat. Oh shit! This was going back right around after the time her sister passed away. Damn. And so it sat from like late 2012 until 19 from when my son was born. I gave the car back to her as a push gift, and I used to rent out a garage that was 15 minutes away, and like I always kept that car inside in a garage because I knew eventually we were gonna get back to it. So she didn't have any idea of that build on the car. She had no clue that what I was up to. Like I was taking off from work, I was like talking to people randomly, like having parts randomly show up at different people's like houses and locations.
Weren't you dealing with a donor car too? Yeah, like...
Dude, I had to get a donor. I got a donor car from the insurance auction that she didn't know about. So like, I'm doing all this secret shit behind her back, and like she's probably wondering what the fuck I'm doing and what's going on. Like she had no clue though. It worked out very well. I had friends involved because like. Nothing stock is probably like 2 hours from us. Nice. So the logistics of getting shit back and forth, like bringing the donor car down, bringing that car down, and then like we ran into an issue with paint because the body shop down there wasn't able to get the car in. So then I brought up to my friend's house, back up to like 2 hours like north, in an hour like north of where I'm at to get the car to his shop so we could just do the paint ourselves. And I've never painted before, and he's like pretty okay with it, but like it didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out, but it was good enough for the build at the time just to get it to her. So like there was a lot of logistics that were involved, and she was floored. Like she couldn't believe she couldn't believe that I pulled this all off without her knowing. And like going down to the shop, so when she finally first saw the car, I had to convince her to go down there. Like I told her we're going to pick up a set of wheels, and it's like,
2
what are
hours
you
away.
putting on? Yeah, 2 hours away. Pick up a set of wheels with like our newborn son in the car.
Oh, dude.
So I'm like, how the fuck are we gonna like pull this off? But like we went down, they were great down there. Josh, Adam, Emmett, they really did a great job with the car with the swap.
Yeah,
And they had a car cover on when we got to the shop. We walk in and like she thinks I'm there for a set of wheels, and we pull the car cover off of the car, and there it was, and she just was floored. I did a quick video of this. So I still have a video of it. Yeah, man. So she was able to drive the car home.
Whoa.
Now it's a gift to her for our son being born. So it was wild. It was a really fun experience, and like the stress of it, I would never want to go through that ever again because it's one thing if you're building a car in your garage, at your leisure, and that's the reason why I did it like that, because I knew I couldn't do it in a timely fashion without having her know about it.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just keeping it secret from her, and I wanted her to have a car that's turnkey, get in, start, and just go. So it worked out. It was a lot of stress. And if you're doing a build, at a shop, it's a lot of stress in itself. Now, keeping it from your wife, that's a whole other ballgame, man.
Dude, what?
Luckily, I'm not divorced, for a second time.
Dude, two things. That's an amazing story, and you can't get rid of that car. Your wife can't get rid of that car. There's way too much sentimental value attached to that.
Yeah.
To even be
My friend said, "Well, get rid of me first before they have left that car." And I'm okay with that. Yes, I'm okay with that.
What? How did you decide on the 2.5 swap instead of like a VR or a 1.8 or like a traditional air quotes swap?
You know what? Because like I was throwing around a bunch of different ideas with her over the years, and Josh for Nothing Stock did a car for his wife years ago. Like I want to say circa 2010, that was called Stella, and it was one of the first 2.5 swaps that I ever saw in a Mark One. It might have been the first 2.5 swap in a Mark One at that time, and he pulled it off flawlessly, and it ran the 020. Just the same thing that I'm running in hers with the 020 with the diff. Nice. And it looks like it's a stock setup. Like I didn't do like a short runner or anything like that. I didn't do a turbo. So it looks like it belongs in the car. It looks like it came from the factory with it. And that was what the idea was that I wanted, because that was his vision of what he did.
Yeah.
So I went off of that vision that I wanted to go that route with that car. Nice. Just because of the look of it, the power to weight ratio, and you can do 2.5 swaps or like a dime a dozen. I picked up the whole swap car from the insurance auction for like $500, nice. And it's like 80,000 miles on it, hit in the front, airbags out, like in a 09 Jetta that no one gives two fucks about. You know, it was like, so it was just a swap that I've always had in the back of my mind ever since I saw his car, his wife's car.
Dude, you're getting me back on the 2.5 swap shit again. I'm just gonna keep my brown rabbit and 2.5 swap it.
Dude, it's a fun car, and also like being like you can just hook up your laptop to it and see what's going on. Like it had, it was sputtering, misfire. I'm like, all right. Hook it up. Oh yeah, coil pack. Throw a coil pack in it. Good to go. Like simple shit like that. You don't got to be chasing gremlins and chasing demons down. It's got, a harness that was done. That was from Eurocraft. Matt at Eurocraft. Shout out to him.
Shout out,
like
man.
Like you're running like all this new stuff on the car. So it's off the shelf stuff that you can go to Napa and get if you need like whatever, coil packs, alternator, some basic stuff. Your oil changes, there's all basic stuff you can get at your local parts store. You're not having to source stuff that are getting harder to find.
So the axles bolt straight up? On
that car, everything is all OEM because with that kit, there's no kit on that car. It's a custom frame notch that Josh does. So he notches the frame on the passenger side frame rail to fit the motor, as opposed to like the newer S&P kit that's out. that it gets to shorten axles and moves everything over a little bit. So so you're just notching a small notch on the driver's side frame to for transmission clearance. So I wanted to go the other route because it, like I said, nothing else is changed on it. It's literally just the motor sitting in there with the stock 020.
I forgot you said it had the O2. It's running the O2O. So then everything would just okay.
And like a lot of people are like, dude, why aren't you running O2A, O2J? Like, first of all, it's for my wife. She's not gonna be ripping on this car hard. We're not gonna be tracking or nothing. And Josh said when he first did that O2O swap on his wife's car, he used to autocross the O2O with the diff. And I got a Pelican diff in that car, and that has no problem handling that 2.5 whatsoever. Granted, if it was for me, and if I was gonna be beating the piss out of this thing on a daily basis, I'd probably go O2A, O2J on it. But for her, like, it was perfect.
Sick,
and it's been great. You know, it's held up well.
It's such a dope build, dude, and it has
man, I appreciate
amazing story behind it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like you said, like that car's never going anywhere. We're just gonna make it better, make it more fun for her to drive, make it safer for her to be able to stop with the car and like it's only got a cup kit on it right now. That's an older cup kit, so I want to put a set of decent coilovers on there, just so it will be complete. Because right now it's a great swap, but the car's not complete yet.
Yeah.
I kind of rushed like the other stuff just to get the car done for her to have, but now I want to really take it to that next level and actually complete it all the way.
I think the car's in a good state though, because it's like a project, but it's still drivable. It's still presentable. It's like 100% usable, and then you can kind of like, go from here essentially. So I think
exactly. The one thing good about the car is the interior was in really good condition. Like, it's got some great seats in there.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, the interior is super clean.
So I don't have to do anything interior wise. She loves the way the interior looks on it. So it's mainly cosmetic that I really want to clean up. Some, like I said, the suspension, some braking. We have a new top fork. The top does have a couple rips in it. So Ryan was nice enough to hook me up with his top from his car that we parted out from his wife's car show. Shout out to Steph and Ryan for that.
Shout out.
They were nice enough to grace me with a clean top for the car. So
sick.
Yeah, so that's the winter project. That's the winter build, and then whatever else falls in our lap.
Right? Fuck, man.
Never know, man.
Get rid of everything. I really want to bag my Eurovan because there aren't too many people messing with T4s stateside. They're huge. They're huge overseas.
That would be sick. Absolutely. Yeah, that would be nice.
It'd be cool. Hear me out here. It'd be rad if I bagged my T4, maybe built the interior out a little bit, and then I could podcast out of the T4.
Oh, hell yeah.
That'd be sick,
right?
I
think I saw, I want to say it was a Reload podcast at, I want to say it's like Titanic Dubs over in Ireland that were like podcasting out of, I want to say maybe it was like, I don't know if it was a van again or something earlier, but it looked like they were podcasting out of a van, which is awesome.
Sick.
Yeah, man. That's an awesome idea.
I don't know. I really like that van.
Yeah. I can get behind a Eurovan. I've been just casually looking around to see, because like for us as our son gets older and stuff, it'd be awesome to go camping with and just take it on road trips and just shit like that.
In a perfect world, if everything went good, air ride and a TDI swap in that thing,
dude. Yes,
and it would be fucking great, right? Because it'd be dead nuts reliable. Man. Right now, it's got the 2.5 in it, and it's a manual. It's a little gutless. I haven't had any issues with it, knock on wood. 2.5's been good. It burns a little oil, leaks a little coolant, but it's a 93 Euro van, whatever.
Right.
So getting it to where I think it would be like reliable for long drives, I think would be a goal. But my son absolutely fucking loves it. It's like his favorite car. Like,
dude, that's awesome.
My daily is a Gen 1 Raptor, right? So I just need a truck. I love the utility of it. Fucking, it's just dead nuts reliable, right? Just hop in it, go anywhere. I can tow shit. I can take shit to the dumps. I fucking love that truck. And it's cool. It's a Raptor, right? So I go to his school to pick him up in my Raptor, and he's like, "Where's Marty?" He calls the Eurovan Marty.
That's awesome.
He's like, "Where's the van, dude?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't fit. You know, I just jumped into my truck. I came kind of running late, and he's like,
Yeah.
I told my friends you were gonna pick me up in Marty today.
You got a raptor sitting there like that's like
this
the
dude's
majority of people would be like, "The shit, no, I want the Eurovan."
this dude's bummed I'm picking him up in a Gen 1 Raptor, not a 93 Eurovan.
Yeah, dude, that kid knows where it's at. Dude, I had the best memories growing up in like our van because we had like a 78 Ford panel van.
Nice.
They had a mural on the side.
Sick.
They had a bed back, no seat belts. Like you said
Hell
on the
yeah.
bridge, flying to the front. But like we used to go to the drive-in with that. Like my parents would go like on road trips and shit. The van was awesome. And I love vans.
He fucking loves that thing, and like his buddies and friends will come over and they'll like hop in the van, like he's acting like he's driving them places. They're jumping up over the seats. Cool. They're just, like fucking partying in it. So it's rad, dude. I definitely want to do. I've been collecting parts for it. So I got like a Euro bumper for it. The ones that like sit further in.
Right.
I got a set of E-codes for it. And I've got a set of Euro tails, clear turn signal indicators. So I'm collecting some parts for it to kind of clean up the exterior. Finding a dope set of wheels, bagging it, and TDI swap, like, is gonna be my goal for it.
Right.
We'll see if I get there or not.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing, like, once you set a goal, it's like you start getting parts and everything, it starts coming together, and it's like you're almost there. So it's like, why stop now? You almost got it ready to go. So
how many? You've been to a ton of shows this whole year. You've been all the dope ones. How many bagged Eurovans did you see at those shows?
I can't say that I actually saw any. Really, maybe one. Maybe I'm trying to think if I ever saw one that maybe it was a VAG fair. That's the thing, because like for us, again, we miss out on like actually going walking around at the shows and stuff. And when we do, we skim through so fast. We miss so much shit. Yeah. So I probably didn't see one.
See, that's kind of why, like I'm absolutely in love with T4s, and they're like they're huge in Europe. Like those dudes love their vans, and they get all the cool shit.
I'm so jealous of Europe. Like all the stuff
they get all the cool shit, man. They get T5s, T6s, like all the fucking new vans. They get all the
and they're like bagging them.
Yeah,
they got big turbo builds on those and everything.
They're fucking sick, dude. And like the Dokas and like, shit. I love all that shit. That's
absolutely
where my head's at, and I think that's what I'm trying to do is get rid of some of these projects, get some cash to throw at that, and then be able to concentrate on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So
100%. I agree with that. And that's kind of like how I am too, because like I don't want to start another project. Because I try to move money from a car to another car.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it. Yeah.
For something like that, because then it's a big rabbit hole. Next you know, you're like fucking looking at your bank account. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like your credit cards. So I try to sell like either parts or a car to fund something else.
That's exactly what I do, and that's why I've ran through so many projects in the last couple of years. And people are like, why don't you just hold on to something? It's like, man, I have like car ADD recently.
Yeah, man.
I best explained it to a buddy of mine. Like when you're younger, starving college kid. Like just young in your years and your experience, you want all these things, but you don't really have the means at that point, right?
True.
Then you hit your mid to late 30s or 40 like me, and now you're further along in your career if you're doing well. You've got a little bit more money to play with, so it's like, I don't really want to hold on to anything now. Like, I want to, I have like ADD. I like get into something. VR Mark II. Oh, okay, that's cool. But 2 months later, I'm kind of bored of the VR Mark II. So I don't know. But it would be nice to be able to like actually focus on one thing. But it's been cool to be able to like own a lot of the stuff that I'd want to own in the past. But I was too busy spending like $3,000 every other month on a new set of wheels for this Mark IV R32 I had.
Right. Yeah, dude. What car would you say is the one you regret the most as an early car that you got rid of that you wish you kept? Because you had a lot of cars. You've had like upwards of like 60 cars or something?
No, not that many. I probably had like 30 Volkswagens. Because I've had like Cherokees, Tacomas. Like I had like random shit too. TT, 2 TTs. Volkswagen wire early. So I got this yellow 83 GTI out of a barn, literally, in Santa Cruz, California. And it
Right.
had all, like, every new speed bolt-on that you can imagine that they made for a
Oh yeah, I
Mark
remember you
1.
saying this before, right? Yeah.
And I didn't realize how rare that car is, but apparently it belonged to someone who worked at New Dimensions, which was a huge,
Right.
West Coast tuning outfit.
Yeah, man, I remember them seeing them in the magazines and having a catalog for them and everything.
Exactly, yeah. So it
Yeah.
was apparently someone from New Dimensions built the car. And this is, I'm going off of memory from what the dude told me that I bought off of. Someone owed like him money, ended up giving him the car, and it sat in a barn for 15 years before he put it up for sale on Craigslist. And then I think I bought it off of him for like $1,800.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
It was resprayed Corvette yellow, like that 80s
Right.
Corvette yellow, or maybe like 80s Corvette yellow. Rad car.
Yeah.
Sold that. And then it disappeared off the face of planet Earth.
No shit. So you have no idea what that thing is at all.
I have no idea where it is, but now that I know the, kind of more the backstory of the history of it, I probably would have kept that. You know what I mean? Instead of like being like ignorant to the history of it at the time.
Dude, there are some sick cars that came out of the West Coast when these big companies like Eurosport and Autotech and New Speed, Bomber, all these companies that were like, in the early days, that these cars that, they built just kind of disappeared and, went away. Like we just recently saw on the Rabbit Hole, Mike Poley's YouTube channel, Kermit, that just came back around. That was a build that was, going back to the early days of ABD racing. And it's like, you've got some of these cars that you didn't, after they were built, they kind of got forgotten about, and they really weren't worth much because they're in that low point.
You remember like the Dahlback cars? They're starting to pop up now. But that fucking, that crazy Mark IV that they did back in the day, like all of those cars, like all of the like Euro Tuner GP cars, like what happened to all those cars? Like there's a lot of crazy shit going on back then.
Yeah, one of my most favorite cars was the Eurosport. A guy from Eurosport built a Saturn Silverado, and they called it the Ghostrado because nobody ever saw that car out. And it was in Eurotuner. It had Schmidt motor lines on it. Yeah. It was polished roll cage, a bunch of engine go fast parts. Like, it was just a beautiful car. And I always loved that car. And then I saw that it was for sale. And then some kid bought it like in the East Coast. I want to say it was Connecticut, and like pulled everything off the car.
Aw, dude.
And it was like, we saw the H2O. I want to say it was like 2012. And I was like, oh, I think this is the car. And then it didn't have like the roll cage. It had like a cheap set of like ESM wheels on it. And,
I fucking hate that.
Dude, random bullshit car, random parts that like, I was like, I don't know if it's the car. And I started talking to somebody about it. I was like, yeah, that's the car. I was like, fuck, man, that kind of sucks.
Dude,
and then like now, who the hell knows what happened? Every time I see a satin silver car, I'm wondering if it's that same car or not. But like, if that ever went for sale, I could find that car again. That would be the VR that I want. Ooh. Because like that's like my memory of
and it has a history.
VR.
Yeah, and it has a history to it too.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
For that car in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Man, there's a lot of crazy shit that went on back in those days. You know what I think? I still think like coming up in the West Coast, I still think all the crazy shit was coming from the East Coast. I remember looking through PBW or, over the pond, but I remember looking through the PBWs, looking in the Euro tuners and seeing all the East Coast cars and all the East Coast shows and just being like, man, these dudes are fucking like leagues ahead,
Right. Yeah.
It just felt that way, but it was probably because like the scene was just, bigger on the East Coast, if that made any sense.
It seems like it was like the big shows where everybody wanted to showcase their builds. Like between Waterfest and H2O, you waited for these big shows to showcase your builder or build a car for that show specifically, especially for H2O. That's like the top dog cars. That is what everybody did. They built that car for top dog. That's what everyone wanted to compete in.
Yeah.
So
It's
I understand what you're saying with that.
yeah, and I think I had this conversation with a buddy of mine not too long ago. Like, I think weather has a lot to do with it as well. Like on the West Coast, traditionally, like California takes up most of the West Coast. You're blessed with that perfect weather, so you're just like, you know what I mean? Like the harsh winters of the East and the rest of the country, you guys kind of buckle down and like use that
We hunker
time
down.
to build shit. And we're out here just fucking around, walking around in flip flops in November and shit.
Yeah, right. We got a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, dude. It's crazy to think about how the shit's like kind of gone from back in those days and like the forums and stuff, and how it's like all like social media now and like those transitions.
It's a shame, especially on the forums where there's so much, like there's a wealth of knowledge on there for anybody that wanted to get into any of these cars. It's crazy that like most of that stuff's gone. You can read up on some stuff, but like all the pictures are gone.
Photo bucket.
Forums. Yeah.
Photo bucket killed all
like
the car forums.
It's ridiculous. Like, I wish they would have had a way of preserving that stuff for that people that are trying to get into the scene now, or just for like us that are like, fuck man, I can't remember what I did back then with X, Y, and Z. Let me revert back to like this form. Cause I knew it was there.
There's so many great build threads and how-tos and DIYs like Vortex and all that shit, man. I would just fucking spend hours just deep into someone's build thread, and that would be my Friday night entertainment.
Dude, for real. Like I lived on the Corrado Club of America forums back in the day when I first got my Corrado, and like I learned so much just from those fucking forums. Yeah. Like I literally was able to put my car back together because I didn't know anything about these fucking cars. I bought one of the worst cars you could buy for a first Volkswagen. Yeah. Like this was awful. And it was like,
I will admit though, like YouTube's pretty good for some DIY stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
So I've definitely looked up like some random shit on YouTube and followed like a random person's video on like how to do this and be like, real quick, okay, cool. Instead of like having to go through 100 fucking pages of a build thread. Be like, where was the fucking where was the part where this dude talks about the fucking emissions delete? What fucking page was that?
Dude, I remember like I did the cams. I had a B3 Passat wagon VRs, a 93 that I did a build on, and I had the motor out and everything. I did cams and stuff. And I remember like printing out the pages from Vortex.
Yes, dude.
Like,
fuck yeah.
Like 30 pages of like how to install
I would do that shit too. No, these motherfuckers nowadays don't know about the printing out shit. Remember going on a caravan and having to print out the MapQuest directions, bro? Dude. Print 100%. Out the MapQuest directions? Like, where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going?
Like, all right, we're going on vacation. You got the printout? Yeah, let's go.
These motherfuckers don't know.
Fucking not at all, man. It's crazy. Learn so much by doing it because you're literally in there, in depth, reading about it and then doing it, as opposed to like, just taking that shit for granted and like doing whatever, YouTube or whatever it is now.
It still surprised me. Because I'm like, on a bunch of different Facebook groups across the spectrum, all the makes.
Yeah,
and
same
even
here.
in this day of age, it surprises me, like, the fucking posts that I see about, like, what do I need to do a VR swap in a Mark II? Like, what's the best suspension to run in a Mark IV? Like, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
See that and you're like, dude.
It's funny because, like, on Vortex, you'd be like, use a search, or the search is your
friend. Noob.
If they get banned.
We need to bring back the search, noob.
Dude,
the fire suit emoji.
That should be a new shirt for John from Volkswagen. Like,
search noob
is your friend. Noob. Yeah, search noob.
Search noob.
That's awesome, man.
Dude, those were the days, man. I kind of miss them.
Yeah, dude, 100%. You go back and reminisce on the forums and like just forget about stuff, and it's like, holy shit, I remember this. Or like there was a forum Ryan and I were talking about. We were talking about on the podcast last night that we were on this one local car show, Super Jam forum, and it was like my friend Bill, which was Dub Scout, he posted on it. Then I posted on it. Then like I didn't know this at the time. It was Dub Freaks, which is Volkswagen John, and then it was like Josh Enough to Leave Stock, and it was like Iron Trap from Iron Trap Garage, and like all these like heavy hitter names, all like on the same page, and like we've all been doing this for so long that we've known each other. But like maybe back then we didn't really know each other, or we just knew each other on the forums, or maybe like at a show in passing. But like we're still here doing it. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. That is nuts.
It's like gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
I forgot what happened. Someone fucking sent me to a link to an old Vortex thread, and it was like a NorCal. So I hung out in the NorCal fucking, whatevers. Yeah. And it was like, hey, do you remember this? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like this, I don't know if it was a picture thread or it was like a picture thread that like we got, like we didn't really like get along with the moderators on Vortex in that forum.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was like reading through it, and then I was like reading some of the posts and shit, and I was like, oh fuck, this is so cringy. Like reading through the thread, like, oh, this was me? Like, oh. Forget how stupid you were back then.
Oh, dude, 100%. And that's like, as like going through the forums, it's like you just like shake your head like, oh man. And then you see like all your friends or whatever, it's like, it says banned. Banned.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
banned.
You're all banned now.
I got banned too for stupid shit. But you remember, I remember what it was now. A buddy of mine found an old Vortex picture thread where the pictures were still up in the link.
Oh, okay.
It was like 2 months after I'd gotten my Mark IV R32. I had put like a carbon fiber Bozer hood on it.
Okay. Yeah, man. That's what you did back in the day, yeah?
Oh, dude. It was so bad. And that was all that was done to the car. He's like, dude, do you remember doing this? And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. I do remember doing that. What the fuck was I thinking?
Yep.
That's hilarious. I had a Bozer hood and like RCs instead of the Aristos and like some janky Angel Eye. Remember that when everyone's doing the Angel Eye shit?
Dude, yes.
I like the Mark IV Angel Eye headlights, and like, man, that was like, I was like, oh fuck, dude, that was bad.
Yeah, man. Like I remember, my wife wanted an R32, and we found this super low mile R32. It had like 13,000 miles on it. It was back, I want to say, 08, 09 range. It had like the Helicilas like Angel Eyes on it, and a couple light bolt-on mods, and like the deal just happened to fall through. And we couldn't get that car. Like ever since then, I was like, man, we always wanted that R32. She wanted a Tornado Red one, and like, it just sucked because at that time the price of that car was like 22 grand, and it was high for like what it was, but like for 13,000 mile like
today's money that'd be.
Dude, Tornado Red R32 is like, fuck, this would have been like big money now. Forget it.
Dude, I like kick myself in the ass of like all the stupid shit that I've done in the past, like throwing away Mark 1 bumpers, like throwing away fucking perfectly good parts for Mark 1s and Mark 2s.
I had a complete complete B3 Passat parted out that had doors, fenders, trunk lid, hood, bumpers, everything. And then like it got to the point I was moving these parts from garage to garage. I was like, I'm never getting another B3 again. Like after I sold my wagon, I was like, fuck it. I scrapped all of it. Sold maybe a piece or two here off. And I'm like, dude, fucking what was I thinking? Like I have a car now I could use all these parts on.
I know, dude. I've done the same shit. Like even with my R32, I like sold the whole interior. I had the cloth pristine, like the cloth.
Oh man.
Cloth seats, front and rear, pristine, dude. I sold them for my full interior, $1,000.
Oh wow,
$1,000.
Crazy.
Because I wanted to buy like these fucking Eurojet. You remember Eurojet, that company?
Yeah, man.
I got sponsored by Eurojet.
Oh, cool.
And my sponsor price for these seats that I wanted with like the blue match stitching and all that shit, and they were carbon fiber backed. I was like, yeah. He's like, your sponsor price is $1,000. I was like, well, I'm gonna sell my full interior for $1,000, and then I'm gonna have $1,000 for these seats. And that's what I did, dude. I got those, and then I bought like GTI leather, like just Mark IV GTI rear leather bench off of a buddy for like $150.
Right.
And those Eurojet seats were the fucking shittiest seats ever, dude. ever.
But they're a fiber, so like it went with their hood.
They were uncomfortable as shit, and they were like cloth centered. And I remember it, dude. I got it all ordered, cloth centered, blue stitching the match, and the cloth was like such a shitty, cheap cloth that it faded and turned brown in like
oh my god,
a couple months, dude.
Dude, that sucks.
Yeah. Fucking hate it.
Whatever happened to those seats?
The company?
No, the seats.
The seats? I sold it. I sold them to a buddy who put them in a GTI. Yeah.
That's funny.
But
that's crazy. Yeah, Eurojet went out for like, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say? Maybe it was even
longer than that, dude.
Man, I'm getting old.
I know. A long time ago.
Look, I just turned 40 this year, so I'm right there with you, man.
Shit, dude. I fucking just think about shit like that, and I'm like, man, I sold a full Mark IV interior for $1,000. Yeah, man, dude. Fuck. Dude, well, we just did 2 hours and 15 minutes, bro.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
That's nuts. I just looked down, and I'm like, holy shit, dude.
Time flies when you're having fun.
For real, dude. I'm glad that we got to get back on and redo this, dude, and run this back.
Yeah, absolutely. I was stoked to come back on here. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by being even asked to come on here.
I'm humbled by you even coming on here. You're the pro.
Dude.
You and Ryan are the podcasting pros, dude. I'm just here.
I used to look at it like we're just new to this stuff and we're just winging it.
I'm just here living in your guys' world.
Yeah. We can live all in the same world, you know.
Dude, I love it, man. I love the podcast. Dude. You and Ryan, you guys are great dudes. I love everything you're doing in the scene. Fucking, it's awesome to follow you guys and keep going with the podcast, man. What you guys got going on? Like car show wise, you guys have been fucking at everything.
Yeah.
You've been like interviewing like all the awesome people that you could. What do you do in the wintertime?
So we're gonna have some interviews lining up that we're gonna do as well. Maybe on location, maybe at their place, or maybe have them come up to our or his place or my place. Mm-hmm. Do some of those interviews. We got some local guys that we've been wanting to get on the interviews as well as keep up with the current stuff that's still going on, because there's a couple things coming up, which shows in the next few weeks that we'll kind of keep an eye on, as well as some tours for Tots that are coming up in November.
Nice.
So we'll put that out and then kind of go from there, and then hopefully that carries us through the winter time into Christ. We're looking to go to Euro Tripper in February down in Florida. So we were gonna start planning for that.
It's in February? I thought that was in March.
Yeah. No, so it's like February 5th. So we're planning on going to Euro Tripper. We're definitely gonna try to hit up Alpine Vac Fair. Also gonna try to hit up Wilkie's in the Woods.
Nice.
Because he's got his R32.
Yeah.
So that's the plan, and we'll see how it goes.
Rad, dude. Well, I'm gonna try to get out east this next year.
Dude, yes, that'd be awesome.
So I'm gonna plot out. I've already told my wife. I was like, no. We had so much stuff planned this. I'm like, I'm doing all the car shows next year.
Yeah.
And she was like, we'll see about that. But I'm going to try to be strategic and hit as many as I can for sure, to finally get out there, meet you guys in person, instead of being stuck over here in the West Coast. But yeah, dude, hopefully that works out. We can actually
that'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be crazy if I could do a podcast in your booth? That'd be sick.
Dude, that'd be the shit. Do a podcast in our booth. Podcasting a podcast.
That'd be so sick. Well, dude, thank you again for being on and chatting. Everybody who's listening or watching, please go check out Ryan and Danny's podcast, the People's Car Podcast. You can get it through all your podcasting networks. I listen through Spotify.
Yeah, man.
Great podcast. Again, I love what you guys are doing. And thanks again, dude, for being on.
No, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm honored and humbled to come on here with you and keep doing what you're doing, because all of us have this part in the community that just keeps this going for everybody and keeps it fresh for new people to come into it, and it keeps it current for us old guys that are still involved in it.
Yeah, so us old guys.
We're like the mid G's. We're not like the old G's. We're not like Tech 2 OG. We're like mid G's.
We're mid G's. I'll take that. Yeah. I'll take a mid G.
Absolutely.
All right, Danny, dude. Thanks again.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Bye.
Later.